Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for international rugby. This match, New Zealand versus France, down in Dunedin for the first of the three match series. Now, it's been talked about all throughout the week what France side has shown up to this contest, but New Zealand making drastic changes to their side compared to what we saw in 2024 as well. Throughout this build-up, we'll be looking through at the teams, we'll be looking at previous results, upcoming fixtures for these two sides, and having a big old chat about this match as it does get closer. Looking through, first of all, at this New Zealand lineup. Once again, very different from what we saw for last year's contest. Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor, those two stay the same, but Fletcher Null gets the opportunity at 3. There is the injury to Tyrell Lomax at the moment. Also no Tamaiti Williams. So, unfortunately, the All Blacks have had their fair share of injuries before we even get into the July internationals, and there may still be a few more to come throughout the next little while. Scott Barrett will start at number 4. He will also have the captaincy with Fabian Holland on debut. This is the perfect location for that man to make his way into the All Blacks. He is a Highlander throughout the year, and he also offers a lot when it comes to that line-out, having that experience of Barrett alongside the inexperience and also that unpredictability of a young player like Fabian Holland. He is a unit. He is able to get line-out steals, and he loves putting in big hits, so keep an eye on him throughout this contest. Tupavai moves to number 6. He had a very strong Super Rugby season from the number 5 jersey, but they have made that reshuffle, putting him on the blind side. Scott Robertson mentioned that is something that he's not afraid to do throughout this season, and I do think with the injuries of Wallace Satiti as well as Luke Jacobson, it made it a little bit easier for that transition to take place. Artie Savia, he will be starting as the number 7. He did actually start up against France in that 7 jersey last year, and then number 8 on debut as well. Christian Leo Willie, he was initially just injury cover for Luke Jacobson, but then Wallace Satiti ending up with his season ender. So it did mean that Christian Leo Willie makes his way in. Cam Roygaard, Beauden Barrett, the 19 combination that the All Blacks did go with up against Les Bleus the last time that they met. Geordie Barrett returns from Leinster and will be partnering with Billy Proctor in the midfield. So a Hurricanes duo of the past now gets the opportunity in the present. Rieko Ioane, speaking of things in the past, he was a man who started out on the wing. He transitioned to centre. He has been playing 13 for the All Blacks for the past couple of years, but now gets that opportunity on that left wing side. Sevu Reece out on the right, and Will Jordan is back at number 15. He was absent at times throughout 2024 due to injury, but he'll be raring to go for this match down in Dunedin. In the chat, we have got the All Blacks win definitely, says Claudette, 50 points to 18, who you know who, or two you know who, says Shane. And also we have got there the sportsbook, CAB's winning by 22 points, but I don't know, says Reeves. See, that's the thing, it is a very young French team, there's no denying that, but I think that Māori All Blacks versus Scotland game proved to us that until we see them in action, it's very hard to judge them. Like, don't get me wrong, there is hardly any experience across this forward pack as well as the back line. Got a couple handy players off the bench though, for the French too, that we will be looking through in the very short future. Morning, Hamish. I see Wales finally won a game again. As for this game, AB's all the way, says Suckerbull, and good afternoon, Kiwis. All Blacks by 30 tonight. I'll be watching this game in Melbourne, says Ashley. And yeah, I think that this game, we've seen a lot of one-sided scores predicted, but I just wonder whether or not those reshuffles for the All Blacks may, change a couple things. Rieko Ioane, perfect example, moving out to the left wing. What is his aerial ability going to be like after not really having it tested in that number 13 jersey? Now, if I was France, I would be targeting that wing for a start. Now, that can also be dangerous, though, because Rieko Ioane, if he does take it well and can break down the wing, he will be a handful for Tom Spring. On defence, we have got France will bring their free-flowing and counter-attack they are famous for, says KW Stanley, and good day, Hamish, and good morning, rugby fans, says Jeff. Welcome in. What time did the game start? Says William. So this one is actually, believe it or not, it is an hour away. So we've got a little bit of time. So if you don't want to hear me talking about this match and a whole heap of interesting stats throughout this hour, I would not be offended if you want to pop away and come back when the match does get underway. But down in Dunedin, of course, no rain, no wind, perfect conditions for rugby. And they are just showing French kick 31 times per test, average to the All Blacks 25, kick for 300 metres for the French as well. Like, New Zealand do get a little bit of a rap as of late for the amount of kicks that they've done. But I think this French side, they certainly love an aerial contest. And that's where, like I mentioned, Rieko Ioane does come into it. How much practice has he had jumping up for the high ball outside of this All Blacks camp? how many minutes left? Probably 60, I would say, as about it is. Is the Springboks also going to have the hour build-up? It certainly is. There is plenty to talk about that contest too. And also, we have got their... Rico would have been AB's all-time try scorer ages ago had he stayed on the wing. So he's all in the game. And there will be an adjustment period, of course, when that man makes his way back to that number 11. But alongside Sevu Reece out on the right wing, Noah Moni Narawa for this contest. And the thing is, Anton Leonard-Brown is scheduled to go back into the All Blacks round 3 of this test series, I believe, which does mean, theoretically, Moni Narawa then is gone from this All Blacks environment. I think they'll keep him training with the squad, though, although they might release him for the NPC. That is going to be starting in around 25 days' time. I said yesterday, Ray's has other plans this season. So here's Jeff J. And we have got the hi, Hamish. Hope you had a great day. New Zealand by 30. So here's Kevin. And evening, Hamish. Good to be here, says Si. Yeah, it is great to see so many of you guys here very early for this one. Like I mentioned, a little bit of time before this match gets underway. But we'll look through at what happened for these two sides last year, although, in fact, before that, we will look through at this French side, the side that has been really already criticised, even though they haven't made their way onto the field as of yet. In the front row, they have got Barlow as the starting two. Slimani, a man of Leinster, so Geordie Barrett will know a thing or two about him, although he'll probably know that he's pretty handy in the scrum and puts in some pretty big hits. But here as the number 1, Ardo alongside Dejay, I believe it is, in that number 5 jersey. Fisher at 6, Tesoro as 7, and Gilliard as the number 8. Lee Garrick, the starting 9. And I do think he has a lot of pressure on him because a lot of people, their rankings of French halfbacks at the moment, based outside of injury, it is Antoine Dupont, it is Maxime Lecou, and then you'd say that Lee Garrick gets the argument for around that 3 or 4 mark. So if he can have a big series here, perhaps he does move up in the rankings just that little bit more. Definitely with that absence of Dupont, we have to wait a little bit longer before seeing that man back in action. I'm just looking at that All Blacks lineup, making sure no late changes. It is still the same as we did say just before. Galfiku and Galetton in the midfield. Villiers out on the left wing. I'm curious to see how he goes up against Sevu Reece. I mentioned it in my preview. He is one of those players that when he is playing well, he can almost be unstoppable. But if they don't get the ball to him enough, then he can kind of become a little bit invisible, find himself just defending out there on the wing. Tom Spring, he will be there in the number 14 jersey. And then 15, plenty of pace in there too. So I do think that 10 and 15 combo, you know, it's going to be the key. Like we mentioned, the kicking game of the French could win them this contest. If New Zealand have errors under the high ball, that's where France will make their territory. We do see both sides just arriving to the ground now by the looks of it. Or in fact, that might have been an earlier interview of Sevu Reece looking through at the benches for these two teams. Tolkiaho, Ollie Norris and Basilio Tossi as that front row replacement. Like I mentioned, no Lomax, no Tamaiti Williams. So then Bauer was the man that missed out. And in this case, Summer Penifino at 19 can play in that 6th jersey. Perhaps we see Vai transition to the locks, or maybe Finau. They might just stick him straight in at lock if there are a couple injuries that do ensue. Duplessis Karefi, a debutant off the bench. The thing is, he's been so close to the All Blacks lineup so many times. Last November, for instance, got added into the squad. Prior to that, I want to say it was back in like 2007, or maybe that's a little bit too long ago. But yeah, it would have been about 2018-19. He was actually in the squad, never got a minute of rugby under his belt. Cortes Ratamadea at number 21 with Quintupai and Damien McKenzie, the 3 Chiefs, as the back replacements. Bugaret, the man who does play for La Rochelle, in that 16 jersey. He loves a rolling maul, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that the French do try and get going alongside Roman Taufafanua and Cameron Walkie. Of course, 2 big solid men, can jump well. And a line out Fantonda off the bench, as well as Hastoi in that number 23 jersey. So we'll have to see how he goes. And at this contest as well, we have got 19 more messages. I will try my best to read as much of the chat as physically possible. Will your mum be joining us for a great commentary tonight? She will not, no, but she will be watching this game with my dad, I assume. So hopefully she does enjoy the match. We have got there Scotland nearly pooped the bed against the Maori boys, says Lamatasi, but they didn't. They won in that contest. And once again, that is one of those situations where Scotland going into that contest were considered heavy underdog. People weren't giving them a shot. A little bit similar to what we're seeing here for this French side. So until we actually see the All Blacks with their reshuffled backline and a couple of changes in the 4-pack, until we see them in action, you know, there's no guarantee in this matchup. I feel like we need to see it to be able to really feel safe about what has changed in this All Black side. As I say, however, can go the All Blacks. I hate the idea that France sent their cheap teams, not prioritising test match. Unfortunately, that is the way that French rugby is, though. The top 14 takes priority, as it is where pretty much all the French rugby money does come from. The players are paid by their clubs rather than outside of it, so that's where it gets tricky. You know, the big ballers of French rugby don't want their guys going overseas and getting injured, because then that hurts their season of the top 14 where there's so much on the line for them overall. Yeah, I've got there, what was the score between the Māori All Blacks and Scotland, please? I will say it, but I'll say it with a little bit of warning beforehand so that no one gets the spoiler. So if you don't want to hear it, be sure to mute. But the score was 29 points to 26 in favour of Scotland. A little bit of a last-minute thriller between those two sides. Hopefully anyone who was hoping to watch that game beforehand doesn't get it spoiled. Although, to be fair, Sky, we've probably said the result already. We have got there. Yeah, they played great. Just a few calls got away from the Māori boys today, says Lamatasi and Chill. Our Test Championship, WTC, the most feared side on the planet, playing against France, says Jeff. And we have got their cheating ref bro, says John. And there as well. And Scotland should bring their sword at every game, says Beekeeper. And delicious bench of the ABs. Well, that's the thing. It's quite a young bench too, isn't it? Overall, you've got Ratama. You've got, Quintupai and McKenzie. They're starting to get a little bit older, but Summer Penny Finau in that locking duo. Duplessis Karefi. You know, all these guys still under the age of 30 roughly. So that's pretty handy if you're looking at that as a possible bench for the World Cup. Super pumped for this. Sometimes it is great to be neutral. I just enjoy rugby. So yeah, 0 there. And do the Springboks ever beat the All Blacks? They have beaten them many times, Mokhadin. That is why it's considered one of the best rivalries in rugby today. As it's on main event, I'm not sure. I know it's on Sky, it's on Stan Sport, it's on DSTV, it's on Rugby Pass. I think it's on Flow Rugby, but I could be wrong. Hope the ABs thrash them, but I genuinely think it's going to be a lot more even than people think. Says Israel him in there. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, this game for France is about proving that they've got depth in their younger players. Now, normally you'd let a few younger players into a match at once rather than almost the whole side of them. But world rankings, I want to talk about that a little bit later on because it's actually quite substantial what could happen here. And it's one of the reasons why I feel that France, even though people feel they could have sent a better team, if they have looked at what can happen in the Rugby World Rankings, I think that they've sent their best team possible with where they are at the moment in their season. We've got to remember, those top 14 guys have played 25 games in a row. They do need a break at some point, and this is their break because they're straight back into the top 14 in only a month or two's time. We have got there, should have done the 6-2 split, taken Damien out with a lock instead. Although with Summer Penny Finau, as well as playing a lock as number 6, you don't really need that extra lock cover off the bench. I think that the All Blacks have got enough there to be able to reshuffle and do it effectively. Now, of course, 2 locking injuries does get a little bit more concerning, but the All Blacks theoretically could still have enough switches to be able to cover it. Did the game start? It starts in about 45 minutes time. We're not too far away from the start of the match. And All Blacks are yet to lose an international game. They haven't lost one this year, so I guess that's something to praise. Can you recommend what I should put in my pre-rugby omelette? So you're playing rugby, I assume, or are you just eating an omelette because the rugby's just about to start? But you can't go wrong with having an omelette. I'd recommend eggs. It's a very good start. We have got there All Blacks 100, France 7, says Pete P. in there. And also hello, says Bite, welcome in. And where's the suit, bro? The suit's not coming out for a couple more weeks, I don't think. A big night tonight. Hamish, lots of games to watch. Absolutely love it, says Si. Yeah, there is rugby everywhere you look. Throughout this evening, the Waratahs, they'll be taking on the British and Irish Lions. That is the 9:45, it was going to be a 9:45, but it is a 10 p.m. kickoff for us here in New Zealand. Then you've got the South Africans taking on the Italians. That is a 3 a.m. or so kickoff, but we are going to have a big hour build-up of that contest. And then also Argentina-England happening a little bit later on. I haven't scheduled it yet just to see where we're sitting at tiredness level, but Fiji versus Australia will also be taking place as well. Yeah, Hammy, where is the collar and the tie? Says Lamatasi, it is hiding. It's in the closet. It's not coming out for a little while. I can understand why the French sent their B team. I can't understand the French putting club before country, says Sakabula. It all comes down to money at the end of the day. Like, they do make so much of their revenue off the top 14. It is the be-all, end-all for French rugby outside of World Cup years. But I want to talk about that World Cup once again, because New Zealand from this contest, if they were to beat France by 16 or more points, they gain 0.92 on the overall World Rugby rankings. Now, if they were to beat them by less than the 16, they gain 0.62. So we talk about how much there is on the line for this young French team, but New Zealand have a lot on the line too. If they win all of their games up against France throughout these next couple weeks, they will actually move very close to number one in the overall standings heading into that Rugby World Cup draw, which is taking place in December. So I am just doing the maths here, but if France were to lose all of their games up against New Zealand, right, and they lose them all by 16 or more, France are number 4th in the rankings, and that would be with 87.64. So, with that being said, that means that if Argentina or England win their games, particularly England is the one that I am looking at, because if England get a win over Argentina, England move to 5th in the world rankings, and if England beat Argentina twice in Argentina, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it did, then it would actually be England and France jockeying for the spot in the top 4, as France would find themselves potentially dropping out of that 4 in a World Cup year. And that is a really bad thing to have, because that means they will have to face either South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, or England in their group stage of the Rugby World Cup. They set a team to play the big guns, so it's game on. There's no second team. There's an 18, says Jeff, and AB's by how many, says Max. I think a humble 20 is about what I'm thinking at the moment, but I don't think it's going to be easy for the All Blacks. At the end of the day, we've seen it before. Sometimes the form from Super Rugby doesn't always translate into the international jersey. All throughout this week, you know, a lot of people are back in New Zealand to get massive numbers, but for that young side, couple debutants in the starting lineup, another debut off the bench, you just wonder whether or not they might take it a little bit easier for a start. They don't want to rush into this game. They want to be able to build, get their phases together, and just get, I guess, used to what is a new look side, because we are seeing the switches in position. It's not his birthday. He is lying, says Lamatasi. How do you know? Do you know him personally? But where was he? He was the birthday boy is Poo the Pro. There you go. That's a name and a half, isn't it? And we have there Hamish with the tie equals close game. Hamish with hoodie equals easy game. Says Rugby Factual. And also we have the close game between the Māori All Blacks and the Scots, says Novum. Yeah, 3 points difference between those two sides. First try scorer back or forward, says Max. One of them will be able to score, hopefully. I don't want to see a penalty try as the first one. Who's been in the All Blacks and Springboks by a lot of points in this decade? Says Beekeeper. Who's been in the All Blacks? I mean, France beat the All Blacks by about 14 only about 2 years ago. That was for the Rugby World Cup. But of course, we can look through at previous results between these two sides, but because of so many switches, it doesn't give you a fair kind of look at what has happened. We can look through at this All Blacks Rugby Championship from last year, though. So we've also got the French top 14, but for New Zealand, they were 3 wins, 3 losses for last year's Rugby Championship. Now, they did finish second overall, but that first game of the championship up against Argentina, they did lose 38 points to 30. They came back and managed to pull off a massive victory in game number 2, 42 points to 10. Actually, a very similar pattern to what we saw with South Africa when they lost to Argentina. The next week, they came out and absolutely smashed them. So it seems like it takes a loss sometimes to really find your best form, you could argue. But for New Zealand, they had 2 close games up against South Africa in South Africa this year. Those 2 matches taking place in New Zealand and Australia. They had a couple close games, or at least that first one was for the Bledisloe Cup, and then that second game, 20 points difference, 33 points to 13 for the French in their top 14. In their Six Nations, I should say. They had an easy win over Wales in the first contest, 43 points to 0. They lost to England, 26 points to 25, in what was a very close fixture for round number 2. Big win over the Italians, 73-24. Big win over Ireland, 42 points to 27. That one was substantial, as the Irish were at home, and France went to their home and managed to pull off the big victory, and then beating Scotland in the last round. So they did win the Six Nations. This is the way that the table sat. England just behind them on the 20 points. Ireland in third, and then Scotland, Italy, and Wales the sides to follow for the Rugby Championship the way that it sat last year. As you can see, South Africa winning all their games but one. That was the one up against Argentina in Argentina. New Zealand 3-3. Same with Argentina. So I do think that this season for New Zealand, they had, I believe it was 4 losses throughout 2024. They've talked about it. They want to get that winning percentage up that little bit higher. South Africa have made it clear that they want to win every single game throughout this year. You'd assume Scott Robertson's the same, but sadly that cannot happen for both sides. One of them will be missing out. We have got 46 minutes till kickoff. Says John there. And also hello from France. Have a good game, AB's friend. Says David. And there as well, yeah, I do hope it's a really great game of rugby. Like, at the end of the day, if the rugby is good and there's not much to complain about out there on the field, I feel like that bodes well for both teams for this series. The last thing I think a lot of people want to see is a one-sided affair that then kind of kills off the momentum of the next 2 matches. And close game between the Māori All Blacks and Scots. And depends if Barrett kicks away too much ball. Here we go. How we go, says John. But the thing is, up against a young French side, I mentioned about it in my preview, this is actually the best opponent for Beauden Barrett to go for his random kicks. Because, for one, they haven't been together for very long, so there might be a little bit of indecisiveness about who is defending where because of so many switches. Now, one thing that stayed slightly the same is Galfiku and Galetton. We saw that at times throughout last year, but Villiers out on one wing, Tom Spring out on the other, like this is all new in terms of where players are in terms of positions. Like even Villiers last year was playing right wing. This year he's out on the left because of no Biarre. So yeah, I do think that it will be very intriguing to see which way this one goes. And some of those, those almost unpredictable moments when a ball's rolling around, bouncing awkwardly, when you've got maybe a cross kick coming in. Just showing Fabian Holland's debut, or his second game, I think it was, for Christchurch Boys. That was in 2019. He's going to be making his debut for tonight. Expected a close game between Black Ferns and Black Ferns XV. So here's all in the game. And how long until kickoff? We have only got another 40 or so minutes for this one. And also we have got that Eden Park test this year is equal of greater than a World Cup final, says randomly. And also, can we put 60 on them like the World Cup as a so-called B side? So yeah, well, in the World Cup up against France, New Zealand lost. So I assume you're talking about the game up against the Italians. Of course, they also do wear blue. So maybe that's where the confusion comes in. Even though France are bringing their B side to New Zealand, we should not underestimate the French, says Weeks. Exactly right. Like, until we see them in action, I think that we have to just bide our time a little bit. We need to see what this French side can bring to the occasion before judging them too heavily. Like some of these young guys, we've seen it before, like their series up against Argentina. They went over there. People said, oh, it's a bit of a makeshift team. They actually won one of those 2 games. They were over in Argentina. Morning. Says Neven in there. Welcome in. And also, Hamish, great weekend of rugby in store. Thanks again for beating the drum and keeping us enthusiastically informed. Says Mark, yeah, we've got plenty of rugby taking place. British and Irish Lions taking on the Waratahs. That will be the next game that is taking place. And then following that one, South Africa versus Italy, which will be quite the matchup as well. B-side, this is France, not you missed the N in that second one. And French sending such a weak squad is not only a bad strategic call, but also disrespectful in my honest opinion. Do you know the reasoning behind it though, 92 Rhino? Because on the surface, it seems like it's something that, is considered disrespectful. But when you dive into it and you learn the reasons behind why they had to send this side, like, it makes sense. They've put together what can be considered the best side of the players available. And it's a little bit similar to what we see for Italy. They're missing about 10 of their players heading to South Africa because of their ties with the top 14. But people aren't calling them disrespectful. We see Argentina missing a few of their big guys because of their commitments to the top 14, but they aren't being considered as disrespectful. It's only that France have done it that people aren't happy. But there are other sides who are tied to the top 14, and as sad as it is, that is a competition that runs a lot longer than most others around the world. Morning, how are you today? Says Ayako, doing very well, excited for this matchup. And we have got there All Blacks, Lock Stocks, Fabian Holland, Josh Lord and Sam Darry, and also maybe Zach Gallagher. Says Tanner, yeah, there are plenty of young guys that will be able to make their way up through those rankings. You've also got, outside of those ones that you've mentioned who aren't in the squad, you've got Naitoa Akoi. Antonio Chalfoun's been in some pretty good form in that regard. Do you agree with the idea of not inviting them in that case? Well, that is one that can possibly be debated. But, you know, at the end of the day, they are now here, so they can't really change it now. But, you know, for the All Blacks, the thing is, this is actually the perfect scenario. Other than the fact that maybe, and this is not confirmed because we haven't seen France in action yet, maybe they aren't going to be as challenged as much as they wanted to throughout these July internationals. But for New Zealand, if you're looking at changing your squad and your side and your lineups as much as they have for this year, perhaps these type of games up against a younger side where you can experiment and can actually find some sort of rhythm with this new lineup is actually the best case scenario, because these guys, of course, they can train together all they want, but until you get match minutes, you can't really fully know what your lineup's going to do. So it's a little bit similar, I will say, with South Africa having 2 matches up against the Italians and the Georgians. They are currently building what is going to be a very strong rugby championship squad. New Zealand, they can be in the same boat here. If they want to try out combinations in their next game, if they're 1-0 up in the series, they can do that. They couldn't really do that up against the English last year because England pushed them from start to finish throughout those 2 matches. All Blacks 46, France 12. France will hold nicely until the last 20, and is game 2 and 3, or where are game 2 and 3? So of this one, I believe both of the games are going to be taking place in the North Island. This is the only South Island fixture, and it is down in Dunedin. But in terms of the second match, it is at Sky Stadium in Wellington, and then the third match is FMG Stadium in Hamilton. And maybe French get a lucky break. So here's Roof there, and 61% of people say that the squad is solid, and 27 say they've nailed it in terms of this All Blacks team for this contest. High in the chat, welcome in, and 70 points is the number, says Lamatasi, and New Zealand 40 to the French 11. What's the weather like there? It's a bit chilly, but it's in a stadium with a roof, so rain, wind, everything like that is not going to be a factor for this contest. I'll say it again, a team is a team on tour. Don't confuse people with B team, this and that. France is France, and then you just throw in a bit of a fence at the end for the sake of it. And cold night for the Frenchie, lamb and pork, boil-up soup for the game. Says Pete P, that sounds like an all-right dinner to have. And we are only sitting around 35 minutes away from the start of this match, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are going to be here all throughout the night, as well as all throughout July for the upcoming matches that are taking place. And 32 points to 17 in favour of the All Blacks. Says Rural Sheepdog. All Blacks 66-6 over the French there too. But we will talk about the November internationals, ladies and gentlemen. For New Zealand, they have got 4 matches that will be taking place in November. But first of all, we will actually have a look at this French side. They will be playing South Africa. They'll be playing Fiji. And then they also have the contest coming up against the Australians. That is in around 140 days. Now, I was talking about the world rankings because if France don't win the match up against South Africa, and if they somehow were to lose one of these 2 contests, they would be outside of the top 4 when it comes to that Rugby World Cup draw taking place in December. And that is the last thing that the French would want. So they either need to secure 1 win here in New Zealand, or they need to secure 2 out of the 3, if not 3 out of the 3, for the Northern Hemisphere tour to be able to keep that spot. And in the top 4 for New Zealand, they have got 4 matches coming up, and it is going to be a very intriguing kind of November for the Kiwis. They've got Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales. So they are not playing Italy, and they are not playing France. Those are the only 2 sides that they won't be playing in November. That match up against the Irish could be a very intriguing one. Of course, they do have history up against each other. England versus New Zealand, that was the series that we witnessed last July. They had a whole heap of moments and was close from start to finish. And then the end of the year up against the Welsh. One will be a tough game for Wales, but I do hope by 140 days we start to see them find their feet again. They managed to get themselves a victory over the Japanese, which I believe is their first win in quite some time. We have got the All Blacks to get a red card, so who's going to get the red card? Do let me know. We have got our Hamish the disrespect to have no suit, says Mr. All In. Well, it seems to be if I have the suit, people complain. If I don't have the suit, people complain. So it's just, I might as well be comfy. We have got hi Hamish, says Scott Jones, and hello Hamish, says Regan there. And also bad tackling and silly ball, not allowed, referee must control it. Fair enough. I went to Detroit KFC in 2025. I believe I would have had it once or twice throughout this year, yes. How many cards in this game? I think we'll see one, but I do think it will be a yellow card. I'm not sure about a red because I think that both of these sides will know that you can't afford to get a yellow card upgraded to a red or just a straight red at this stage of the year because, you get a 5-week ban for some things and then you're out for pretty much this. And then if you're the French, you're out for the whole of the November internationals too. So that's a little bit of an intriguing one. Now, some of these guys, of course, will be out for the November internationals anyway for this French side when we do see the return of some of their top guys. We have got their it's international test match, the excuses. Says Mr. All-In. We've covered many international matches before, though, and you haven't complained about them. So, it can't just be pick and choose. But Galfiku, 94 test caps. He is closing in on the century, although he will have to wait till 2026 to be able to get it. Happy for the Danish bloke. I hope I got that right. So awesome. What a story. Could be a movie. Says Nars Williams there. And also Rico back on the wing running full flight. Can't wait. Says Decado. And yeah, I do think that France will try and test him under the high ball for this matchup. I was just wearing a tracksuit. Says Dune. It's probably better than a birthday suit, isn't it? I think that people would certainly complain about that one. The Dutch guy, you mean? Says Anov Mum. And also red card equals more family time this summer, though. Says on the right. And the suit was always the lucky charm. Was it? I feel like we wore the suit for the Rugby World Cup final. So I guess it was lucky for South Africa, wasn't it? Where's the World Cup being held? The World Cup will be in Australia for this one. And also we have got there, if it's Scott, then we will change our captain. He's a card magnet. Says Lamatasi. And yeah, Savia back in that number 7 jersey. That's where it gets a little bit intriguing because he did play 7 last year up against the French where New Zealand did lose 30 points to 29. You're supporting the All Blacks, right? I'm just supporting a good game. And I hope it is one. Like this New Zealand side, they've got some changes. They'll want to try and find their mark in 2025, starting it off with a win. This young French side, they have nothing to lose because people are already writing them off before the game's even started. So for them, if they can go out and somehow get a victory, that does definitely, up their stock and potentially gains a few spots in the French squad later on. Adds a bit of size to that 7 as well. Says Nars Williams. I hate to say it, but I have a funny feeling France will win. I want big time to be wrong, says Brett. And wait a minute, the interviewee guy is really tall, right? Yeah, that is Joey Wheeler. So he's about 6'4", 6'5". And it's actually the guy next to Joey Wheeler, I believe, is actually Fabian Holland's brother. So he's quite tall too. He's probably about 6'5"-ish in his own right. And also we have got there, who is the ref? Says Scott Jones. I'm not actually too sure who the referee is for this contest as of yet. I assume it will either be maybe an Englishman or potentially, it could have an Australian, I guess, for this contest too. But yeah, once we do know, of course, I will let you know too. Can't wait for the Rugby Championship. Is Jeff J. And Savia was a monster, still quite smallish at 8 and 6, especially against the South Africans. Says Nas. His mum has a typical Dutch accent. Says, no, mum, an easy win for New Zealand. Says Stephanie. And there as well, but just warming up his neck at the moment. Fabian Holland getting ready to go. Irish ref, says Andrew there. And seems there is often a VAR issue almost every game now, but maybe not today. Yeah, I know that they're normally pretty decent with the TMO down in Dunedin, but then I guess it is all down to who is actually using the TMO for what happens with it. But yeah, do let me know, ladies and gents, who you think will score the first try in this matchup. We are closing in on around 30 minutes remaining until this match does begin. France 37-27 to the All Blacks, says Yako. So not just going with a French win, but going with a comfortable French win in that department. Where's Talia? He is heading to Japan, but he is actually going to be playing for the New Zealand and Australia Invitational XV in the game up against the British and Irish Lions. How much time left? It's just 30 minutes remaining. Clark to score first. Clark is not playing in this one, but Rico is out on his wing. So do you want to change it to Rico Ioane, or do you want to go with someone else? In that regard, who's 8? The ref. And is he Irish? Ser Lamatasi. So a number 8 in this game is Christian Leo Willie, a guy who was initially added to the squad as injury cover to replace Luke Jacobson for his head injury, but then Wallace Satiti ruled out for the rest of the July internationals and potentially some of the Rugby Championship. It did mean that he gets the opportunity to start in this matchup. Are the All Blacks the best in history, says Lennox? Depends on who you ask. I do think that it's one of those ones that can be debated. The All Blacks at times have been a very incredible team, but then some would argue that World Cups are what regards the side as the best. In that case, one side has more than New Zealand. And Cody Taylor, or is Cody Taylor playing? He is indeed, yes. He is going to be starting in that number 2 jersey with Samisoni Taukei'aho making his way off the bench. And so is Rieko Ioane, a better winger than Caleb Clark. Rieko Ioane has not played wing for about 3 years. So it's very hard to tell. But one thing is for sure, Rieko, throughout the regular season for the Blues, he had 0 try assists. So the wing may be a good spot for him. Caleb Clark scoring 0 tries throughout that season, though, and he is absent from this contest. Then I picked the Crusaders. Cody Taylor says beekeeper. And also Nick Berry is reffing the game. Says rural there. And they held the number 1 ranking 10 years in a row. No other country has come close. Says Nov Mum. And also, what was the score on the Māori game, bro? It was, once again, spoiler alert. So anyone who doesn't want to know it, be sure to mute for a second. It was 29 points to 26 in favour of the Scottish. And also, we have got there, good morning from a wet Cape Town. Easy win for the All Blacks, says Morne Vandenberg. And there is no B-side, there is no A-side when playing, says Jeff. And there as well. But nonetheless, we are getting close. Like I said, the weather looks nice in Dunedin. And there's a roof. So it doesn't matter even if it was absolutely pouring down. I know that there's been traffic warnings for heading down to Dunedin. This game is sold out, as you would expect for the first match of the All Blacks 2025. Yeah, go Yako. Or sorry, Yako says go the Bok. And also good game, says Mr. All In. And okay, Mum will be pleased, says Andrew. And there too. And also we have got their second string team, whatever. A team is a team, says Jeff J. And also All Blacks score first within 10 minutes. Line out drive, Cody Taylor. Okay, so you're going with that aggressive line out from the ABs. It is something that they tried at times throughout 2025. We have got there the arrogant up their nose frogs are going down. Doesn't matter what team they send, says Kahu. Right, okay. That's very aggressive from the get-go, isn't it? Lennox Wilson streamer, well, you can't split these two, says Joe Webby. And Springbok versus Italy, it is a game that is happening in about probably 9 hours' time, I would say. Where's my Tamaiti Williams? Sadly injured. Ethan isn't there because he can't run a ball. Ethan isn't there because he's injured. Scott Robertson's mentioned this multiple times in interviews. He wasn't medically cleared at the time that they wanted to bring someone in, so that is where Papali'i made his way into the side. I do like the fact that the media have completely turned it, though, and everyone's saying that Ethan Blackadder, the hated man of the All Blacks, that they wouldn't select him back in because they're scared to select him or he hasn't done enough, but really he was just injured. Just shuts it down straight away, doesn't it? With 3 great jumpers now, I think they'll be testing the French line out a lot this game. Something we struggled with last year, says Oosh the boys. And like I said, with this game being up against an inexperienced French side, that heavily benefits the All Blacks in terms of trying things. Whether that is a rolling maul or whether that is some sort of set piece off their scrums. Of course, they don't want to show off too much because at the end of the day, you still have to find yourself the victory. But they can still get a little bit strategic with what they do in this contest and, you know, just try and develop themselves a little bit more heading into that rugby championship. Roy Gard to score AB's first try, says Ashley there. And good morning, everyone, says Jimbo. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Hope you are excited for this contest. You know, less than 30 minutes away, around 25. So once again, we will be looking through at the sites for this contest. First of all, for the Kiwis, it will be Ethan Agru, Cody Taylor, and Fletcher Null as the front row. No Tamaiti Williams, no Tyrell Lomax. Now, Lomax has not been ruled out of all of the July internationals, but he was injured for this matchup, and it's a little bit of a wait and see for when that man will return. Scott Barrett and the youngster on debut, Fabian Holland, in that number 5 jersey throughout Super Rugby Pacific. The man had some great numbers, 7 line-out steals, about 18 dominant tackles. He will be wanting to make his mark in front of the home crowd down. And Dunners Tupavai, he moves to number 6 after playing predominantly from number 5 throughout the season. Now, Simon Parker at times was in that loose board trio. Sama Penny Finau too for the Chiefs. So we didn't really see Vai needed in that number 6 jersey. They also had Luke Jacobson, worst comes to worst, who could pop into that blindside flanker role. But Vai, it's been talked about by Scott Robertson that he doesn't mind the idea of having a lock play at 6, and a lot of people happy to see that little bit of extra height for the All Blacks across Their fullback, Artie Savia, in that number 7 jersey, returning to where a lot of people feel he belongs. He did play there up against the French last year, but a majority of the season was played in the number 8 jersey. Christian Leo Willie there at number 8 on debut as well. Massive chance for him to show what he can do after a great standout season for the Crusaders. Cam Roigard, Beauden Barrett, the 19 combo that the All Blacks did go with last time. They played France. Roigard sniping around the breakdowns, 13 try assists throughout Super Rugby Pacific. Beauden Barrett, the second most for points in Super Rugby, and that is an important step because I believe he will have the kicking tee for the start of this contest, unless, of course, they look at his brother in the number 12 jersey. Geordie Barrett, he has been playing for Leinster throughout this year on a sabbatical, comes back into the starting side with the potential of a long boot if needed. Billy Proctor gets the spot at 13, hardly any minutes for him throughout 2024 in the All Blacks kit. He got his first game up against Fiji as a debut. Then from there, it was always Ioane pretty much for the rest of the season. Speaking of Ioane, he has now moved to the left wing of this contest. He will be getting his first start on the wing for what feels like an eternity. Big opportunity for him, but I do think France may look to try and target him a little bit in the early stages of the contest. Sevu Reece out on the right, and Will Jordan slots in as the number 15. Back in the ABs, and he will be excited to go. We have got there, Shaw Bodie won't be shifted to 15. These selections look straightforward, says Mr. Orlin. And yeah, with Mackenzie off the bench as well, I do think that, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that little bit of a reshuffle later on. Quinn Tupaia, he can come in as number 12, so perhaps Geordie Barrett goes somewhere else in that back line. Cody Taylor first try, says PP. And also we've got the Any French team is a good team, but they play in the ABs, says Jeff. And also Proctor 3 tries, $51 odds, says Reeves. So you're going for a Proctor hat-trick in this contest perhaps. I want to see the Fijian lad from the Highlanders play maybe next week, so that is Timothy Tavatavanawa. Sadly, he was probably the guy that a lot of people felt was unlucky to miss out. Definitely with this game taking place down in Dunedin, they could have potentially looked at him off the bench rather than Quinn Tupaia, but obviously there is a plan in play, and perhaps Tupaia is more of the long-term 12 for them throughout this season, as well as potentially heading into that Rugby World Cup. But I do think there will be a spot for Timothy Tavatavanawa at some point, perhaps in either the second or the third match. What we have got there, do you ever wonder sometimes that the pro teams listen to your strategic commentary at times? I doubt it. I don't think my commentary is very strategic. I think I just talk too fast. So they probably would get a bit annoyed. We have got there, on a great comment, haters need to get off this channel. Everyone's good opinion matters. I respect all and respect nothing from anyone. I say, says Kernovic, and Scott Barrett and Fabian Holland can be a pretty physical combo. They both have massive tank engines too. Yeah, we did see Scott Barrett, he gets a lot of criticism, that man. But as the season progressed, he did pretty nicely. We actually see there, that was interesting, Naitoa Akoi actually doing a little bit of warming up with the side. Who else is with them, I wonder, who hasn't been announced in any sort of squad as of late? Because I know that Naitoa Akoi, he didn't play for the Māori All Blacks. Perhaps that's why. I never heard anything about him joining them, though. So that's a bit of an interesting one. But massive opportunity perhaps for him if he is training with the side, if there are any injuries in that locking duo. I might do him for a hat-trick. Hamish, how are you, mate? Dollop Rugby today. Come on, Island, says Nate Dogg. And there as well. And yeah, the Irish taking on the Georgians, I believe, a little bit later on tonight. We will be keeping everyone updated with all of the games that are taking place. Last start on the wing was actually 2021 in October versus Wales for Rieko Ioane. And we have got, hi, says Rusty, welcome in. And also from South Africa, go the All Blacks, make France pay for not sending their best players, says the breakdown. And hi again, Hamish. Thanks for covering the Bok England under 20 game, says Dan. No worries at all. It did turn into what was a very entertaining contest. And with all the media talking about how disrespectful the French are, and we to give them a good hiding and not slip up. Exactly right. Like, at the end of the day, like, people can talk, I feel, after New Zealand win 3-0. But until then, all the talking, if there is a slip up from the ABs, that then kind of backfires. Like I mentioned, the World Rugby rankings can be heavily affected from this series. New Zealand can gain 1.87 points on the overall standings. That would put them only, I believe it would be 0.55 behind South Africa heading into the Rugby Championship and then heading into November. For the French, they can drop 1.87, which if England were to win both of their games up against Argentina or vice versa, would put them within reach for those other teams to be able to then overtake the French and take them out of the top 4 heading into the Rugby World Cup draw taking place at the end of this year. France might give the ABs a fright, says Colin. There is a possibility. That's the thing. Sometimes it's the young, unpredictable players that can step up the most. Now, some of them, of course, will feel the pressure. They'll possibly freeze under the lights a little bit in their first opportunity, but, they have still got what I feel is a little bit of a foundation, and it's very easy to say 8 debutants for the French, but some of these guys have been on the verge of this French team for quite some time and always miss out because of guys that have been there. Like you look at this bench, for instance, right? We'll go and we'll pop it up on the screen. There we go. You look like a Jeannot in the number 22 jersey because of what they've already got, or Fantonda, for instance. He's probably a bit of a better example. But, you've got Dupont, you've got Maxime Lucu for those first 2 halfbacks. You've got Legaricus 3. Any other halfback in France for the last probably 5 years just hasn't gotten an opportunity. And that doesn't mean that they aren't great players. A couple of the locks, Roman Taufifenua, normally starting. Now the opportunity goes to Arado and De Gea as an opportunity in that starting lineup. Cameron Wacky too, off the bench. So once again, I think that the last thing they can do is be overconfident heading into this game, the All Blacks. They have to take this as just another day at the office, just another international side that they have to find a way of taking down. They could have sent Melvin Jamanier for this one. He did well for the Barbars. Or is he in? If not, he should be. I think that if he isn't in at the moment, he'll probably get added in, I would think, a bit later on, perhaps. This AB's team has done nothing as a group to justify the hype, says Robert Wood. Well, like I mentioned, they lost 4 games throughout 2024. And no certain time because protesting against French B team, says Stephen. That is not true. It's just more of the case of it's quite cold. And also, I feel like there are bigger matches to come. And I can't just wear the suit every week or else then people complain that I'm overusing it. Which it looks like people are now complaining that I'm underusing it. So you just can't win. And Holland try on debut, says Dylan, defence should be too strong. Says Mr. All In. Yeah, I do think that the All Blacks will try and pride themselves on that defending for this contest. But once again, reshuffle. Rico Ioane out to the wing. You've got Geordie Barrett returning from being overseas, playing under different structures for Leinster. Will there be a little bit more of an adjustment period, perhaps, in that regard? So, it is, on paper, it looks like it should be a relatively safe game, but in reality, it might be something a little bit different. Oh, we have good there. What is your score prediction, says Yeti Bird? My score prediction is All Blacks by 20. And I think that at times, it could be considered as a little bit too lenient or it could be considered too light. It's just very hard to know where France's side are at. I'm complaining about people complaining. Says Dan, I love you, Hamish, says Matthias. And then aren't the ABs ranked second, though, says Cool Story? They are ranked second, yes, but they can gain 1.87 from the rankings because France are 4th. So because they're at home, they gain less points than if this was a series in France, but they can still gain from this first contest anyway. If they were to win it by more than 16, they can get themselves 0.92 from the world rankings calculator. And that's where Rico should be. Traditional ABs sides always have dominant wingers. And also was a cool story for Karefi and Barrett, being mates from under 10s all the way up, cool as. Says Naz Williams, and the French have given us their C team, I feel. Says Yeti Bird. And this is a feeler, let's see, says John. Yeah, this is the game that will tell us how this series will go. And it's either going to be a successful 3-0 for New Zealand, or it will be a little bit more challenging than first anticipated. The good news is we're only 15 minutes away, ladies and gentlemen, from finding out. We're about to have the national anthems. The haka will take place, and then we are ready to go for 80 minutes of what I feel will be a very physical outing for these two sides. The All Blacks, they already have an injury list that is getting longer and longer by the day. No Wallace Atiti, no Tamaiti Williams, no Peter Lakai, no, I've got the list here, no Tuanga Fasi, no Sam Derry, no Asafwa Moore, no Stephen Perafeta. Recently, also having a couple injury troubles with Tyrell Lomax. Fletcher Null not too long ago, having a bit of an injury from the Super Rugby side of things too. The list goes on. Ethan Blackadder, someone who's not on the squad, also dealing with injury. Luke Jacobson, head knock. How long will that list be heading into the Rugby Championship, and how many of these guys outside of the main squad are going to get called up? You have to stay ready if you're in New Zealand at the moment, that is for sure, whether you're playing for the Māori All Blacks or whether you are just waiting for that call from Razor. Hence, Geordie needs to be there, says Kurosaki. And also, I feel like Bodie is better than both Mo'unga and McKenzie, except the tee kicking. And France is at $8, says Fat7. And I really hope the flair of the All Blacks rugby will reignite this game, says Oswald. And 2 front rowers, it will be missed, says John. Yeah, Tamaiti Williams, you got a feel for the guy. Like, he put his body on the line throughout Super Rugby Pacific, did very well from that loose head role alongside Fletcher Null and sadly Williams' body after that semi-final. In fact, it was the quarter-final where he picked up the injury and then decided to play through the final with it, which has then led to him actually hurting it a bit more severely. And too early to think ABs will walk away with the win. Yeah, until we see the final whistle blown, I don't think there's any guarantees in a game of rugby. I think that we've learned that from time and time again throughout this year, that anything can happen out there on the field. And I honestly do think that both sides, like, there is one way that this game could go, and that's the All Blacks just fire from the start. But there's also the chance that the first 20, we might actually be a little bit lower scoring on the board than some are anticipating, mainly because of the fact that both sides, with a few changes, take that little bit longer. Bro, listening in while jackhammering my tiles. Cheers for the commentary. Says, oh, thank you very much for being here. And good morning, evening, amigo. Says Flesh and welcome in. And of course, a massive day of international rugby still to come. Waratahs taking on none other than the British and Irish Lions. We will see South Africa in action up against Italy. Argentina playing England. Australia playing Fiji tomorrow. Lad Broach thinks ABs by 22. Says on the right. Yeah, I honestly think around 20 is the average score prediction that we've seen, because we've seen some people thinking it's going to be quite close, and then we've seen people thinking it's going to be an absolute blowout in one side's favour. Is this a video or not just a talking commentary? It is just the talking commentary. That is due to YouTube's broadcasting restrictions. Any match footage or audio gets you taken straight off YouTube, so that is why we are unable to do that. But I can recommend Sky Sport, DSTV, Stan Sport. All these different options are a way of being able to watch it, so I would highly recommend checking those options out. But we are almost ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever hasn't already, be sure to get those score predictions in, as well as who you think will be able to score the first try of the contest. Should be an exciting one. Should be high scoring. And yeah, I wouldn't put the house on it, says Fat7. And Kikaha, says John Tipu, welcome in. VIP League, lad, says Disruptor. And also we have got there, Hamish, give us the info to make a TV movie in our heads. Says Cool Story. Well, currently they are showing the players in the changing sheds. I'll try not to paint too much of a picture on that. Some people might get a bit excited, but they are just showing the starting side once again for the All Blacks. We will do the same for this New Zealand team. Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor, and Fletcher Null will be the front row. Null, probably a little bit of the surprise, but when we learn that Lomax has the injury, it does make sense. Scott Barrett and Fabian Holland, they will be the locking duo. The youngster Holland on debut in front of a home crowd, excited to show what he can do in the international level. Jersey Tupavai moves from the locking duo of the normal Super Rugby Pacific season, as well as last year. For the All Blacks, he now goes to number 6. Artie Savia back at number 7. For how long? We'll have to wait and see. And Christian Leo Willie gets the debut as the number 8. Cam Roygaard and Bowden Barrett, the same combo that faced Les Bleus the last time that they met in November. Roygaard, a lot of try assists throughout Super Rugby Pacific. Also had the most passes, I believe, out of any player in that competition. Bowden Barrett, he's unorthodox, he's unpredictable, and when he's on form, he can be unstoppable, so we'll have to see if that is what the case is. Down in Dunedin, Geordie Barrett returns into the side from Leinster in a sabbatical. He had a phenomenal season for the Men in Blue, but now in this game, he will be facing Men in Blue. Billy Proctor, that was a terrible transition, my apologies. Billy Proctor at number 13. He is going to be the starting outside centre in this match. Rico Ioane transitions out to the left wing. Sever Reece out on the right, and Will Jordan at number 15. For France, they have made drastic changes compared to what we saw last year when these two sides went head-to-head. There is no Damien Penaud, just like what we saw in November. There is no Biel Biarre, who has been tearing it up for Bordeaux throughout the top 14. There is no Dupont due to his injury. There's no Thomas Ramos. There is no front row like we saw, but there is a young team determined, driven to try and make a bit of a statement. They've heard the hate towards this side. They've been told that they are considered B and C class players. They want to go out there and shut those mouths and show everyone just what they can do in this French kit. But 10 minutes away, ladies and gents, we are about to have the national anthems, and then we will be underway for this matchup. I believe ABs will take this by 20. As a South African, I believe the French disrespect to New Zealand. Called 45-24 the ABs. See, Peter there. And also we have simulated this game with the same squads on Rugby 25. All Blacks won by over 40 points. Says Yeedy Bird. And also YouTube, such a huge empire. Surprised they don't try to get rights for these international matches. I do think that, I guess rugby for them probably isn't one of their ones that they're looking at. But that could also be because of the fact that they prefer well, that's the thing. Like, they've done some European rugby, but then that's more so channels that buy it. And also, I think some of the smaller African games have actually been on YouTube as of late, as well as a couple Asian ones too, which is great. Great to see. How's the weather at the stadium? The stadium has a roof, so indoors it's fine. It's a little bit chilly, but actually not that bad in terms of weather conditions for today. But yeah, no wind, no rain due to it being indoors. They'll be excited. There's no hate towards the French. It's a game and there's respect. Says Paul Stewart. Obviously, haven't been on social media this week, Paul. There is a ton of it, unfortunately. It is a bit sad to see, but yeah, I hope that this young team can really perform and, step up to the challenge, because I feel like it actually works better for the All Blacks if this game is challenging rather than it being too one-sided. Now, the other side of the equation is the fact that, you're going to end up in a scenario where, it's really a lose-lose in some regards. If the All Blacks don't beat them by enough, people get angry. If the All Blacks beat them by too much, then people get angry. So it's just anger. But hopefully it's going to be excitement as these two sides make their way out of the tunnel. France have won the last 3 games up against New Zealand. New Zealand have not beat the French since 2018, I think it was. 7 years. And we have got there. I have made my prediction, yet AB's going to run right, says Jeff. And tomorrow will be a sale on AB's jersey, says Robert there. Galfiku, one of the more experienced heads out there on the field. He has more caps single-handedly than almost this whole forward pack combined. So that tells you just how strong he has been. Top 14 career for Tom Spring. He scored 11 tries from his 43 matches. His debut was in 2023, and now he gets the chance to face up against Rieko Ioane out on that wing. Scott Barrett going to lead this All Black side out onto the field. I see George Dyer. I see Naitoa Akoi. I see Bauer. 3 men who are in at the moment, I believe, as injury cover. Fantastic to see those 2 Chiefs after a great season for those 2 individuals. But it's got serious. Scott Barrett, Geordie Barrett, Bowden Barrett. The 3 men leading the All Blacks out onto the field. Ian Foster will be loving what he's seeing. Personally, I don't feel that the game ABs want the box, says Jeff. And also, huge respect for you. Non-stop talking in a good way, says Kurosaki. Thank you very much. Just showing Fabian Holland throughout Super Rugby Pacific 2025. He had 7 line-out steals, 92% tackle completion at 215 tackles made. He also had a lot of dominant tackles throughout those, about 18. And we have got their Six Nations often treats the July windows as friendlies. Kiwis by 20 plus, says Frontier. And there too, but the 2 sides lined up, ready to go. This is one of those moments here that you just feel like for those young guys, the nerves will be setting in. Not just for the French guys, but of course New Zealand. I believe they have 3 or 4 debuts for this match as well. Christian Leo Willie, Fabian Holland, Duplessis Krefi. He'll be making his way off the bench later on in this match, unless, of course, there's some sort of injury. So true, Hamish. There's a way bigger pool of pro players, says Simon. And I'm positive the French score will be oui, says Jason there. But we have got the France national anthem being sung. It doesn't sound like there's a huge amount of French supporters, unfortunately, down in Dunedin. I'm listening for the national anthem and I can't hear the singing. But maybe that's just the microphone. World Rugby shows a lot of European second tier 2 and 3 games free to air on YouTube that are decent games, says Fleshin. You see, I still remember watching that game between Sri Lanka and the under 85 kg All Blacks. That was a really awesome atmosphere. In fact, they played 2 matches of that series, I believe. Showing Gavin Villiers on screen singing the national anthem. He has got skills, and he will be one to keep an eye on that left wing side. He did with Sever Reece, who at times throughout Super Rugby Pacific, his defence was a little bit shaky, but he has also got that ability of getting turnovers in the breakdown. So perhaps that is somewhere that Reece will be able to get the better of Villiers today. But the French national anthem, it has been sung. Now there's a little bit more noise. And Forsyth Barr, it is sold out. Are you going to show the game when it starts? Sadly, not due to licensing. Any match footage or audio gets you taken straight off YouTube with a copyright strike, banned for 3 months and potentially sued. As you can tell, we've had to say that many times throughout the channel's existence. But yeah, sadly, not able to show anything, and you won't be able to find anything on YouTube that doesn't get taken down within a very short amount of time. DuPont's Mini-Me is there. Says Sakabola, and it sucks that we have to pay money for live international rugby in this rugby nation. Says Fat7. And also, we all want to see the ABs dominate for 80 minutes. I don't know if we all want to see that. I think that we want to see them challenged too. Because at the end of the day, 3-3. That's what the Rugby Championship set last year. And I do think that for New Zealand to be stronger this year, they do need some challenges heading into that competition. I love this anthem, says Shane there. And also that youth bloke from the under-20 South Africans as a speedy one. Pure pace out there on the wing, that is for sure. It was a little bit of a shame about Ndlozi's injury, though. Hopefully he is going to be all right for the rest of the competition. I hope the ABs do well, but uncertain in this series. If the series will prepare the ABs for the Rugby Championship, hope I'm wrong. Says Rugby Itch there as well. They are just showing Timothy Tavatanawai. Didn't quite get the chance to start down in Dunedin, but I'm sure there will be a chance for him at some point in the relatively near future. Let's go ABC's GT. I think it should be illegal for a Duplessis to play for either France or ABs. Change his name, says on the right. I mean, I think it's a bit of arrogance because if you knew anything, you know it's his first name, not his second. So, you know, he was actually named after the South African rugby player because his dad, who is full-on New Zealand, did play up against him and had respect for him. So if you knew the story, you'd probably say, oh, that's actually quite a nice gesture rather than trying to stir stuff up. Just is ridiculously quick. Justa, says Jimbo. And Common the AB says no lean. But now, the All Blacks haka just about to take place. I wonder who will be leading it. Is it Cody Taylor? Rico Ioane? Normally, of course, of the past, we have seen TJ Perenara. We've seen Aaron Smith. But now, big chance here. Oh, both sides haven't actually changed sides. Now for the haka walking past each other, there wasn't a lot of eye contact there between the teams. It was more so put your head down, walk past, and get ready for a battle. Sing it for us, please. I think that would make people probably bleed from the eardrums, but Cody Taylor leading the haka now. I know they're wearing yellow boots, says Novmum. It's Bowden Barrett playing. He certainly is, and he is playing in the number 10 jersey, partnering with Cam Roigard in the 9-10 channel. The same as what New Zealand used last year up against the French. And time for action, boys, says Ruth. And there as well. This is where, like I mentioned, the nerves are setting in for the younger guys, or I'm sure they've been setting in all week. A lot of determined faces there from not just the All Blacks, but from France as well. The lighting down in Dunedin makes it look quite cool. They have got the spotlights on both sides. All Blacks all the way, says Aloy. I think New Zealand should win this. But, once again, until we see this young French side in action, they may actually surprise a few people. Duke's got to be a tank, says Shane there. And also, how's our 9 options? If you're talking about New Zealand, they have got Cam Roigard out there on the field. They've got Cortez Ratama, and then they've got Noah Hotham as the third 9 in the squad. But he did not make it in for this match. And also looking forward to this game, says Jimbo. Yeah, it's going to be an outstanding one and happening in about 1 minute time. Anyone who's new, sure to hit that subscribe button. We are here all throughout July as well as the rest of the year. Rugby Championship, November Internationals, the 7s as well. URC, Super Rugby. Rico Ioane, though, at the front of the haka, fired up. And now it has been done. The sides will be ready in less than a minute. I saw a thumbnail where a nice girl suggested Ioane is the number 1 athlete. And the AB's team, something to that effect, says Ashley. And they mean business, says Nov Mum. France don't stand a chance, says Kiwi Rob. And best haka leader for me, Puri Wepu. He was always very good. I like Tana Umaga, though. Anytime Tana Umaga did the haka leading, like, everyone got scared because that man just seemed like he was about to kill someone. And goes South Africa, says Ku. And there, of course, they are not playing yet, but they will be playing in about 7 hours' time. We are going to be covering that game on the channel too. A little bit of a smile on the face of a few of the young French players. They are loving watching the haka up close and personal. And France not a chance, pack the bags, you're deported. I don't think that's quite how a holiday works, or a rugby series, but Nick Berry, he will be the man in charge of this one. The assistants, we've got two. We've got an FPRO. What is an FPRO? Is that like a foul? Oh, this is different. We've got a foul play match official as well as a TMO, ladies and gentlemen. That won't slow the game down more. We have got there. You reckon it will be a close game? I hope it is. You know, like, it's a 7-year drought for the All Blacks, so of course they want to win. And it's important that they do to get their year off on a high. But I do hope this younger French side is at least competitive in that regard. France are looking for the best win, or their first win versus the All Blacks since since November, I believe it was. But now the All Blacks playing from left to right. The French are in white, New Zealand in the black with the white collar. And international rugby for these two sides in July is just about to begin. Fabian Holland looking determined. He's going to go out and absolutely smash someone early on if he gets the chance. Kicked off by Beauden Barrett, and we are underway. First game of the All Blacks. Yeah, first game for France since the Six Nations, and Gilliard claims it inside of the 22. Told to release it. Now rolling this one back. Ligeric crawling forward to try and get into that breakdown. Now rolling it right back. The territory game for the French will be so important throughout this matchup. Kicks it downfield, doesn't find touch. Will Jordan claims it 40 metres out from New Zealand's line. Beauden Barrett trying to find a gap, but he's tackled by Fiku. Now Scott Barrett, the captain. A lot of weight on that man's shoulders for 2025. Roygaard kicking it up high off his left boot. Going for the up and under. Reese chasing after it. Tries to line up the tackle. He's almost, he might have knocked himself out there, Reese. He is slow. He's done. He is knocked out, and he is at least trying to get back to his feet. He's charged in like a man possessed and ended up cleaning up the hip or the knee of the French player. They are going to have to make a sub already, New Zealand, and we're only 57 seconds in. Yeah, head hit the wrong side. He's out for this game as well as the next two. But just got it wrong. Severis trying to put in the big shot, maybe expected Yoris Seconds to be a little bit easier to put down. But yeah, he is blinking his eyes. He is going to be replaced more than likely by Quintal Pyer or Damian McKenzie. Which way? We're going to see potentially a reshuffle 1 minute into the game. And it will be Damian McKenzie who has to make his way on. Nice start, says a shaved beaver. Well, that's now one less sub that New Zealand will have later on in the contest. And like I said, Severis, that is now going to be one less player that the All Blacks have next week too, because I doubt he would pass the HIA. McKenzie, for a man who probably expected maybe 20 minutes at the end of this game. They probably talked about it all throughout the weeks, the tactics, when they're going to unleash him. I don't think with 79 minutes remaining, it was going to be the case. But Reese gone, making his way from the field. An unfortunate collision for him. Ref having to stop the game for it. And Reese getting the round of applause. McKenzie also getting one, making his way on. Sub number one for the All Blacks. 1 minute into the game. The commentator, Mr. Hamish, says Guandele Reese has always had this problem. Says Lamatasi, and that's why I said Geordie at 15, says Mr. Orlin. Right, there we go. Will Jordan's All Blacks 15 jersey lasted 1 minute. He is now playing on the right wing. Damian McKenzie playing at fullback. Now, for the Chiefs, Damian McKenzie had as much better performances in that number 10 jersey rather than 15. That's something to keep an eye on. Lee Garrick, though, puts the ball into the scrum. It holds strong, though. It does go down on this near side. Now looking to shift this one off to this side. Segons does get it into touch. Decent clearing. And territory game. Working nicely early on for France. Early change, says Anoy. Very early change. Oh, that concussion adds. YouTube is very relevant to Sevi right now. says Red 7, and Duplessis is actually French, says Ruth. But now, ready to throw this one in. Cody Taylor for the first line out, uncontested by the French. Nice take from Fabian Holland for his first take at international level, and first carry for Christian Leo Willie there too. Rolling it back again, Roygaard will look to use the box kick. Last time it didn't quite work out for the All Blacks. Rico Ioane this time chasing after it. No one took it. Ethan de Groot, it ended up going behind him. Ioane was running in and then pulled out. Now France, chance here to go off to the left-hand side with some ball in hand inside of the All Blacks half. Ligarek goes back into the pocket again to Serrance, who will kick it high. Chasing after this one. 2 men for France, lining it up. Both men missing it. Bounces back. Galfiku had the ball for a second. Proctor regathers, tries to throw it back in, but he was out. And they'll go back for the original knock on. Hey, Hamish, great game today, says Ryan, and Reese is washed up. I wouldn't guarantee he's washed up. I mean, he had a pretty decent season for the Crusaders. Became the highest scoring player in Super Rugby in terms of tries. Go the All Blacks, says Kingsley there, and let's go Will Jordan, says Aloy. But yeah, massive change early. Will Jordan now playing out on that right wing, somewhere that, a lot of people wanted him to avoid throughout this year, but sadly for him, he's fallen straight back into it. Fabian Galtier, he won't mind that early change having to take place for New Zealand, give them a bit of an advantage when it comes to numbers off the bench. Another scrum feed this time for France. Pat Quates, 917 kgs for the All Blacks, 894 for France. What happened to Reese? Chased after a high kick, ended up getting cleaned up by a guy's hip. And HIA, I'd be very surprised if he passes it, as he tried to get back up to his feet and almost fell back down on his face. Now, Gavin Villiers, tackled low by Geordie Barrett, who does well to hang on to him. Legarek now going off to Guillard. Tackled by 3 All Blacks players. Now Legarek again goes back across to the right-hand side, 40 metres out from the line now for this French team. Legarek finds a big kicking attempt there from Serrance, but it will be now on the side of the All Blacks, 40 metres out from their line. Bit of a rough pass, finds McKenzie under pressure, lined up there by Fisher, driven backwards. New Zealand scrambling to try and find that next opportunity. Geordie Barrett pops it up to Fletcher Null. Does well. Keep the ball in his hands. The pace is awesome, says Hangarat. Yeah, it's certainly going to tire out both of these sides. But now Roygaard kicks it downfield. We are 4 minutes into the contest. Still tryless, still scoreless at this point. Ioane making the tackle there. And now France with the possession 40 metres out from their line. It will be the big man, Doria. And also the Shaved Bieber, thank you for the info, fella, nice one. And New Zealand by 27 is Phyllis' prediction. Galfiku going across there, Villiers kicking it in behind. France with a lot of space, grubbering for Galetron. Tries to get it past McKenzie, but lined up there, Roygaard has now had to clean it up. France with a bit of a counter-attack, or at least a counter-ruck, but it stays on the side of New Zealand. Tupovai tried to sell the pass. In fact, I think he actually wanted to throw that, but Ethan de Groot was in the way. Didn't see the line. As the one playing, he's injured. And will be for quite a bit longer. Cam Roygaard kicking high. New Zealand with 22 metres out from their own line. Now up and under, neither man claiming it. It's been a competitive battle in the air at the moment. Villiers now running sideways, tries to bunt through Null. Look for the offload. Vahi takes it. Barrett at the back, 40 metres out now. New Zealand with McKenzie linking up with Barrett. 2 men jockeying for 10, but instead now they have to be on the same page for this match. 5.5 minutes in on the halfway line. Barrett with the ball to de Groot. He took a big shot. And the penalty goes the way of France. Gavin Villiers, the man who gets him. Whereas Saditi, injured. Ended up with a high ankle injury and needs surgery. So he will be out for probably 2 months. The French name pronunciation, Hamish, respect. Nasal sounds and everything, says Hangarat. And also we have there Sonny. A win is a win no matter how it comes, says Heaney. And how much longer until kickoff? Kickoff's happened. We're currently about 6 minutes into the contest. They look head on head, to be honest. So I assume Brett Cronin, the TMO who is in charge of foul play, might have a quick little look at that one. See whether or not maybe it was a bit too high on Ethan de Groot. But now they are taking on the shot at the post here for the French. This one's going to be about 50 metres out. And of course, no wind, no rain. Nice kind of conditions that you want to have as a kicker. It's his international test debut tonight for Serrance, and he has already accidentally knocked out one of the All Blacks players. If he was a boxer, you'd say good day at the office. A 1 minute knockout. But for a rugby player, of course, he wants to add the points on the board. Serrans, over 1,000 in the top 14 for him, but now international rugby, his first strike of the day. It's looking pretty good, and it goes over. France lead 3-0. Now back to the halfway line. Geordie should have gone to fullback. D-Mac no good at fullback. Says Ivanos. The French don't seem like a B team. Says Hanoi. And we have good there. Well, this game is not going according to script so far, and that's why I mentioned, yes, we can look at the sides on paper, and yes, this might backfire because, it could be a very different score at the 80 minutes. But until we saw this young French team in action alongside this reshuffled All Black side, it's one of those ones that you have to beat the side that's in front of them. In New Zealand, it will take a bit of adjusting. A lot of new players, guys that they've probably only really seen on tape rather than played up against. And that breakdown area says Mr. Orlin. What a disrespectful pin. As in, to take the 3, I think it's a smart move, isn't it? Early on in the contest. You haven't had a lot of possession if you're France, so at least you want to have some showing of points on the board. But from over 50 metres out, a pretty nice strike. And that just tells the All Blacks, don't give away any more penalties. How long till kickoff? Kickoff's already happened once again. We're 8 minutes into the contest. Now going back across to the left-hand side. Short ball, Geordie Barrett goes off to Christian Leo Willie. Cam Roygar back to the right, 40 metres out from the line. Beauden Barrett shoveling it on to the right-hand side where Will Jordan was waiting, and he's dropped by Rudo. Now, Barrett. New Zealand very flat at the moment. I think that might be because of the French rush defence. They're running out of space from about the second pass. The question is, can France hold that for 80 minutes? Kicking behind from Beauden Barrett. Mark called by Legarek inside of his 22. All Blacks to pull off a beautiful last 20 minutes to win the game. Although, if we remember rightly, last 20 minutes last year was where the All Blacks struggled to even score a point, let alone win games from there. That was one of their quietest, that last 20 minutes in history, I believe it was. But now Will Jordan decides to take it quickly, goes to Beauden Barrett, cross to McKenzie, who will go for the up and under. Ioane jogging after it. Looks like he's going to leave it for McKenzie to get. And now France once again managing to take it back. Ioane did not look like he wanted that high ball. Now, 45 metres out from their line. France with possession again. And Torres will tire first and stop kicking them the ball, says Fat 7. That is exactly what France will want. They are known for their territory game, and they often win it. Now, Serrans again. Kicks it high. Under this one, no one getting a hand on it. It sits up for Roygaard, who knocks it on. And now France, they look for the offload. Roygaard there to clean up, and we'll go back for another French scrum. What's the weather like? It is inside a stadium with a roof. But the weather outside, I think, is probably about 12 degrees Celsius. I don't think it's raining down in Dunedin. They were expecting snow over this weekend, I thought, but luckily that seems like it has gone away. Hello from France, your nightmare is coming, says Jean-Marie. Such a friendly first message from yourself. And we have got there, I have been given the inside scoop. There are 3 pin-sized holes in the roof, so it can't be called a dry track. With the recent rain, our point of difference has been shattered, says Jason. They also do wet the field, though, to be able to keep the grass, growing. Christian Leo Willie, international debut tonight. It's already a couple heavy carries. As Sarah Reese is not over, I don't think he'll return. The fact that he almost fell on his face when he tried to get back up, that normally says, nah, you're not coming back onto the field. With the player safety and all that, he won't be back. And goodbye, France, says Trevor. Very goodbye, France. And I mentioned during that build-up, first 20 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if it was low scoring. While both of these guys start to find their rhythm. Legarek now going on the short side, off to the right, finds Tom Spring, little chip him on, Ioane gets in the way. Beauden Barrett calls the mark, but it might have been out anyway. It looks like it's going to be a line out here for New Zealand. Going to see the replay now, though. Nice bit of space for Tom Spring. Chips it. Ioane just watches patiently, but yeah, that ball goes out. And strong AB's 95% of us. Got your back today, says SC Jones. And Rattle concussed, not allowed on the field to hospital for an x-ray. Right, I think that they were just a little bit confused about what the line out on the full was going to be called as, whether or not they were going back or whether they were going for Bowden's mark initially, but it is now going to be the line out. 25 metres out from New Zealand's line. It's very good to be back. Your prediction, please. First try scorer, team and player, says Gita. On my first initial prediction, I'm not even gonna lie. I said New Zealand by 20, but I do like what we're seeing from this French team so far. Cam Roygaard rolling this one back. Going for the box kick. Going to be sitting up high and taking a long time to go down. Tom Spring manages to swat it back onto the side of France once more. Legaric going off to the left-hand side. Seems like there's a lot of fire under this young French side, as if maybe they've heard what's been said about them. Galfiku, big shot on him by Fabian Holland. Legaric back across to the right-hand side. It looks like once again rolled back. This is going to be a box kick now for Legaric, giving himself a lot of space to be able to kick it. Tom Spring chasing after it, and well taken by Bowden Barrett with the mark inside of the 22. And pick and go time ABs. The game is one up front. Says John Tipu. Good clear and kick from Barrett. France do not decide to go quickly. We have got a new channel member as well. Henry, thank you very much for hitting that button. You now have access to those exclusive emojis on the channel. Bowden Barrett, 135 games at international level, over 700 points. Sever Reese failed his HIA. He will not be returning, so Will Jordan will stay out on the right wing side. McKenzie for now will stay in that 15 jersey too. Now, Barlow, line out throw here for the French. Fabian Holland having a lot of line out steals throughout Super Rugby Pacific, although they don't throw them up. Instead, a half throw of Tupavai rolling more here for the French. They're trying to say that Cody Taylor has to get out of there, but I believe he's gone right through the middle. He's told to use it once. Nick Berry says, get it out of there. If you don't, it will be the scrum for New Zealand, and that is what it will be. Aris out now, says Annoy, and yeah, with the fact that he failed his HIA, he's probably going to be out next week as well, and the week after, potentially. I know, look, French side with unpredictability of the old French tradition. I think so. These guys, well, they're still playing that same kind of structure as we would see from the regular French team. But, you know, that is down to, I guess, the quick learning of these younger players. The fact that they've been told what to do by Galtier and they have gone out there and they have, for now, really kept to the plan. And, you know, they're doing well. I'm actually enjoying seeing them be as competitive as they have been. I think it's a real wake-up call for the All Blacks at the moment that they have to play well if they want to win this. It's not going to be by any means a breeze. One penalty against the All Blacks, 3 handling errors compared to the French one. Now scrum feed here, Cam Roygaard round the halfway line for the All Blacks. Ready to feed this ball and gone down in the front row, told to use it. Christian Leo Willie takes it off the back, goes off to Roygaard. Now looping him on for the All Blacks. Rico Ioane finds himself running as a centre in the middle of the field. But now McKenzie off to the right-hand side, stolen by the French. Off the pass to Sogby in the number 15 jersey. Right place, right time, manages to get it back. Now Billy Proctor having to make the low tackle. La la, says Bat 7. We have got the I'm your French nightmare, says Jean there. The pressure is on the AB, says Marcel. Now kick downfield, nicely taken by McKenzie. 50 metres out from the French line, running 40, smashed in the tackle by Berea, as well as one of the French locks. Now Geordie Barrett, wide cut out pass, finds Ioane on the wing, and taken down low by Segon. Will Jordan across to Ethan de Groot, almost good hands from Fletcher Null. In fact, they have said that it's gone backwards. Now Roygaard snipes through. Barrett is with him on the inside. Goes outside instead, and Geordie Barrett will score the first try of the contest for the All Blacks. But Roygaard, that snipe, so dangerous, so evidential throughout the Hurricanes Super Rugby Pacific season. Barrett, of course, those two have been in a side together before. And it looked like now, why are we in such a hurry? They're going to check something here. I think that they're going, that was far. Yeah, no, they're going back to check if Fletcher Null knocked the ball on. In fact, I've said no try. Fletcher Null did knock it on. And there you go. That was the pass from de Groot that then went to Null. It looked like it was low, and it did look like He did drop it. You see, that's out of his hands, but did it go backwards in that scenario? Live, I thought it was a knock on, but then they did call it as back. Does it ever travel forward? Nick Berry right there signals that it was backwards. Oh, okay, no, it's already been ruled out. They weren't even checking it. They've already decided it is a knock on. Okay, so Nick Berry there just saying to Null he thought it was backwards, but TMO has said it was forward, so that will be no try. 3-0 still for the French. And Geordie Barrett should go fullback, says Aloy. But yeah, great piercing run there from Cam Roigard. He spotted the fact that he had Slimani and Barea, two props next to each other, and he felt he could beat them in a foot race. And keep rolling, says Jeff J. And Dan says Jimbo. And also Boo says Knob Mum. And there too, but it will now be a scrum feed for the French, although they have just experienced what can happen when the All Blacks do fire. It was a great attacking run from Roigard. They'll certainly keep that gap full now. Sarah Reese is off due to injury. He certainly is. Knocked out 57 seconds into the game. Now backline movement here for the French. At the Sogby goes through. He's got Vilgio on the outside, but goes on the inside. Chance here for Guilleton. 10 metres out from the line now for the French. And they are looking to attack. Calficu straightens 1 metre out from the line. Pick and go. And France counter with a try of their own. They'll be up by 10. And it's 63 ABs, 8 France. Well, they're already going to have more than that 8 points. And it is the number 8, Mikel Guillard, who does score it. His second of the season. His third of his career. And we have got there, I was like, where's this dude from? That's what we sound like, says John. And also we have got there French 40-35, and not bad for a C team, says Mr. All In. But yeah, great run from Guilleton. Initially, though, breaking the line at the Sogby. Created the gap, and then Fiku, 6 caps away from the 100. Now only the 5. Your scoreboard is going rogue, says on the right. And there as well, but that kick is over. France now leading 10-0 up against the All Blacks. And who's unpredictable as they are, I prefer the score you're showing, says PS. And so now they can spot forward passes. I thought Bowden had cracked the code. The refereeing in Union needs some serious work, says username. Yeah, try ruled out down one end. Try scored down the other. And Guillard, he's a dangerous man in that number 8 jersey too. Very sharp passing teams. Great game, says Jimbo. I told you Ethan de Groot is a useless person, says Jason there. But now Guillard already getting another carry for about the 5th time in this contest. And Proctor got skinned, says Red 7. Now 18.5 minutes in. Lee Garrick once again looking for this ball in the breakdown. Union is so different from Super Rugby, says right, my ball's exactly right. Oh, Barrett gets the charge down, sits up for him, and now taking the ball 5 metres out from the French line. Lee Garrick having a bit of a mistake, taking too long. Now to Groot in the middle of the field in front of his own crowd, trying to drive over France, trying to hold him up. Cam Roigard back across to the left. They've got numbers. Proctor goes to McKenzie, tries to skin the man on the outside in Guilleton. Now 10 metres out from the line. Cam Roigard goes to Artie Savia. Geordie Barrett skip pass, finds Taylor, who's bumped off and put down by Fisher. Roigard up to Fabian Holland now. Low carry from the big man. Roigard back to Barrett. Tries to find a gap. It is not there though for this French team. Roigard cross to Savia, someone who normally makes meters for fun. Gets shut down straight away. Geordie Barrett bumps out of one, tackled by Fiku, his opposite number. Now, Roigard up again to Tupolvay. This young French side is defending extremely well, ladies and gentlemen. Leo Willie, though, now there's a gap. Bowden Barrett goes through, pass on the outside, finds Will Jordan, and the All Blacks now maybe have their first try. We have to, of course, wait to see whether or not that one is disallowed. But by the looks of it, it is going to be the try for Will Jordan. 39 in his All Blacks career, still scoring at almost a try a game. And it was the initial charge down from Scott Barrett. That's a cracking try, says Jimbo. French B team won't last the 40, says Fats. Mate, you are a brilliant commentator, says Stuart. Thank you very much. Anyone who is new to the channel, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are here for the whole series. We are also covering Waratahs versus British and Irish Lions, which is happening just around the corner. And when is he showing the game? We sadly can't because of it being illegal. It's like going, when am I going to rob a store? We can't do that, nor would we want to. Need the video ref to take that one off, please. Says IT respect. And okay, good try, says Masihu. And also looks like we need Tava Nawai after all. Says Jason, but Bowden Barrett from the sideline gets that kick over, making them score 7 points to 10. Maybe definitely are not in trouble. They're taking break off now, says Heaney. Will Jordan putting up the shark fin for his Tasman Marcos boys. We're going to see the replay. Christian Leo Willie just puts Bowden Barrett straight through a gap, and then a very nice wide cutout pass game on, says Jimbo. And SABC are viewing the South Africa-Argentina game today, people FYI, says Donian. Even Robert Store just don't live stream, it says on the right. And fantastic coverage as always, guys, says Avastaria. Can you please show me your screen? Sadly not, because it is illegal, but you can watch it on Sky Sports, Stan Sport, DSTV, Rugby Pass, Flow Rugby. I think there's a couple other options as well. But now that is going to be the penalty going against France inside of New Zealand's 22 for not supporting the body weight. The forwards looking solid. Strong, powerful platform so far, says PS. I think that certain forwards have looked better than the others so far for the ABs. With so many kicks downfield from both sides, though, the forwards have had a little bit of a struggle getting set just because it's only one or two phases and then another kick is coming in. All Black for French fries. Once we get warmed up, says Michael. Now line out throw here, Cody Taylor around the halfway line for New Zealand. Already 23 minutes almost through in this contest, claimed by Tupove in that number 6 jersey. Looking for the rolling ball. Penalty advantage goes in favour of New Zealand. That is due to France dragging it down. Roygaard shifts it off to the right. Little chipper behind. Attempted 2 men chasing after it, but it sits up for the French fullback. And they will go back for the penalty. France will fade in the second half, says RJH. AB's better not play against South Africa like this, says Luke. And hopefully none of your mates have spiked your water, Hamish, says Jason. Well, luckily you are not one of my mates, Jason, so I don't think anyone would have spiked it other than maybe yourself now that you've said that. Where's the female streaker happening? Or when's the female streaker? If they're going to do it, you've got to do it at the end of the game because they're actually miss the rugby, don't you? You've got to be strategic with the streaking. That one has not found touch. And now France, they have managed to kick it downfield. Bowden Barrett takes it quickly. New Zealand, though, losing probably about 50 metres from that one, missing the touchline. Damien McKenzie running down short side. Rush defence from Legatic does shut him down. Roygaard back across to the right. Savia decides he will go himself. Has Leo Willie on the flank with him. And now pick and go from Roygaard. Few extra metres. Savia, pick and go again. It seems like that is the tactic at the moment for New Zealand. Get a few easy metres. Leo Willie, pick and go. Fell for it 3 times in a row, France, although getting in the breakdown off his feet. Just a little knock on, though. And pick and go, says John Tipu. And also still embarrassing losing at the moment, says Philip. And also we're going to hit the like and sub, folks, says Atonian in there too. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leo Willie, busy game to start off for his debut. He looks like he's got a massive amount of tape on one of his ears, and he was actually pointing to it there for Roygaard. And I think that is because he didn't offload it, but Leo Willie's going, mate, you're on the side that I can't hear out of. So, I didn't hear you shouting. And how's it, Hamish? Sounds like a good game of rugby on the go. I come on the All Blacks, sort these frogs out, says Jason. And also Artie waking up, says Jimbo. That's not even over, and everyone counting out the AB, says Juicy. And All Blacks first run this year, so allow them to settle in, says Viking there too. But now it will be the line out, the scrum feed for New Zealand. 24 metres out from France's line. This is where we might see a set piece, trying to shift it out wide, get Will Jordan once again involved in the contest, but Roygaard feeds it in. Now a big push on that left-hand side. I think that's the Groot who managed to win the penalty advantage. Now inside ball from Barrett, finds Barrett, that being Bowden. Pops it up to Rieko Ioane. Once again, long way off his wing, gets isolated. France get the ball back, so they will go back for the initial penalty advantage, but a massive push there from Ethan de Groot. In fact, it might have even been a loose head hinging, in fact, so it is going to go against Beria. So that was Fletcher Null as well involved in that one. I, for one, was pleasantly surprised by the Olympic ceremony, says Eric. We'll see it there. No, that's all Ethan de Groot. I know they were giving Null credit, but that was de Groot on that far side, pushing. The comments are mind-boggling. It's early in the game, plenty of time for the All Blacks to click and turn the heat up, set the breakdown. Now, throwing this one in, Cody Taylor takes it well. Fabian Holland. Rolling maul here for New Zealand, slowly working towards the try line. They'll be told to use it very soon. A little bit of wrestling going on there for Leo Willie and Ardo, but it has created space. Now for McKenzie, running right up the middle, only a couple metres out from the try line, all but making it off to Tupavai, who's over. And the All Blacks have their second now between the sticks, so the easy 7. And they will now take the lead for the first time in this matchup. But who would have thought it would take 26 minutes for New Zealand to lead in this match? I know that was certainly not one that was predicted. But the stepping from Damien McKenzie, gets round Fiku, gets round Villiers, gets round Sequence, gets nailed in the shot by Ligeric. And then Tupavai keeps the body low, drives hard at the line and goes over the top of Fisher, his opposite number. Tired of your periods? I can make them disappear, says Optimus. We have got there, say it's over for France, says Cool Story. Morning, no panic stations. ABs will pull away in the second half, says Terrence. Tupavai transitioning from lock to blindside, has a try on the board already. And we have got their greetings from Liverpool. Been a tough week in the pool of life. However, Sports unites hearts. CST, and it is great to have you here for this contest. Of course, we are going to be live all throughout the night with massive amounts of matches from all around the world. And we also have people watching from all around the world on this live stream, so I do thank you all very much for being here. 27 minutes in, 14 points to 10 in favour of New Zealand. Rieko Ioane taking that one. And French always come out like a peacock. AB's absorbed that early pressure well, says Stephen's uncle. And D-Max set Villiers down beautifully. Now nicely taken at the back at the Sogby. Kicks it high and he is going to go after his own kick. Swatting it back. Manages to retain the ball for France, who will have the possession round the halfway line. Back across to the left-hand side. Gelfiku sells as if he was going to kick. He's tackled low by Holland. Onto the ball now for Christian. Or in fact it was Billy Proctor. 40 metres out. The group rolling around in back play. He's going to be all right. Ball stripped by Christian. Leo Willie Holland goes across to Taylor. Now skip pass. Finds Damien McKenzie again, who his footwork is causing France all kinds of issues. Roygaard. Barrett goes to Barrett. Goes to Barrett. That was 3 in a row. Tic-tac-toe. But Barrett gets it again from Barrett. We should start saying the first name of those 3. They're just taking the piss at this point. But now, Fabian Holland. Going off to the right-hand side. Geordie Barrett this time goes off to Billy Proctor. I'm your nightmare, yes, says Sean. And come on, the All Blacks, says Lube. Now off to McKenzie. Great last-ditch tackle attempt from Gailleton, who stopped a certain line break. Now Holland pops it up to Bowden. Geordie goes across now. Proctor with the quick hands. Finds Savia in open space, who's got the pace to get away from one. Cutting back inwards, Villiers trying to drag him down. The All Blacks back inside of the French 22. Oh, Proctor throws the pass. Absolutely no one home. But Tupavai gets back and controls it. Ball back on the side of the French, though. Legally, says Nick Berry. And kick downfield from Ate Sogby. So 15 metres out for the All Blacks from their opposition line to now 15 out from their own line. Rieko Ioane goes across to Will Jordan. All the time in the world. He's considering running it. Decides to do so. Passes back across to Bowden. Barrett. Little chip across field. Waiting for the bounce. Oh, Ioane did not look like he wanted that. Bowden Barrett trying the little chip in behind Ioane. Looked like he was just jogging after it. But I think he was waiting for the bounce of the ball. And it was not too favourable. Which back went off injury. Sevu Reece in the first little while. And we have their throw. Rico back in the centre, says Hope of a Nation. And also it's Barrett versus France, says Ramiro. It looks like there is an injury here to Slimani, maybe his shoulder. And Usiwani says Nas there. Is this game All Black and Blue then? Says Jason. And also we have got their Roygaard for a try, DIY. Says on the right, Tupavai, when he scored, he had his tongue out. He was absolutely loving it. The French is a national team. Now stop saying CBA. says Jeff there. Now throwing it in by Law. Taken well. Oh, Vey lands awkwardly on top of the French line out. He's having a bit of a giggle about it because he couldn't do anything other than just fall. But it is the advantage now going the way of the French. Gailleton, the man who created the first chance for France to be able to score, pick and go. Legaric now goes off to Fisher. Now playing under the penalty advantage already here, France. Fletcher, no, that was an ugly one on his knees. So they will go back for the original penalty. We must debate the CBA team stuff, says Jeff. Well, we could, but there's also a game going on, so it's much easier to talk about what's happening in the game, isn't it? And what do you do before you roast a chicken? Stuff it, says Andrew, and bring Quinn Tobias on Proctor off, says NZ Native. Well, it's a bit rough, isn't it? Like Billy Proctor, people were asking for him all through last year. He gets the chance at 13 here, and within 30 minutes, people are asking for him to disappear. Like, I think it will be like Ioane out on the wing, and it will be like Ardie Savea at 7. It's going to take a bit of time for that adjustment to happen. I do think that Savea has adjusted a lot quicker, though. It looks like France are also opting to go for 3 points here. We have got there as the French high, or the French high on Brazilian frog juice. Says, cool. And have the French won a tour in New Zealand? I'm not actually 100% sure. I feel like if they have, it would have been quite a long time ago. It looks like Legaric actually going to have a shot at this one. 45 metres out. And now strikes it. And gets it over. Another 3 points for France. 13 points to 14. How's the big Dutchman going? He's put in some good hits already. Fabian Holland. They haven't actually gone to him too often in terms of going for a line-out steal, which is a bit surprising, seeing as he is a guy who got quite a few for the Highlanders throughout the year. But they have gone to him for the attacking line-outs a couple of times. Yes, bring on Tapia. So now they will know that after 80 minutes, Rico is the right man for the 13 jersey. Sees hopes of a nation. But now a little bit of a bobble there for Legaric, but recontrols and gets it down the field. Around halfway now, chance here for the All Blacks. 33 minutes into this contest. I'd say it's over for the All Blacks, says cool. And just tuned in, give us a quick rundown of what happened. How are we looking? So first kind of 15 minutes or so, the French side really were competitive. We saw a disallowed try of Geordie Barrett that then turned into a try down the other end for France. And then the All Blacks scoring twice in a row, one with Tupave, one with Will Jordan. And then France also still taking the threes when available, which gets them to the 13. Now backline movement, ball knocked out of the hands of McKenzie by Tom Spring, but they did already have the penalty advantage. Just had to check that one. Offside against France. Abies aren't dominating anyone or anywhere, says Robert. I wish Jim was on the team, says Given. But now what did New Zealand do? They are kicking for the corner. Right, this is interesting because 40 metres out, straight out in front, you'd have to argue as an easy three. Or at least it should be, right? But you're now in that scenario. The All Blacks are willing to turn down 3-pointers to go for the 7. So we keep that in mind. Because, of course, if they lose this game by a narrow margin, perhaps those extra points that they have rejected could have been the difference maker. Thrown into Christian Leo Willie, who is also another line-out option. They've got about 5 in this match, which is very handy for New Zealand. Now back across to the left-hand side, Christian Leo Willie in and up, ball pops out, Cam Roygaard. Oh, he's knocked it on, and France now have got the possession, so New Zealand do not make the most of the attack. Trying to get it out of there, Segons does get it down into touch, and come on boys, says 01 Photography. And Ozal's Rico Ioane on the wing, should we bring him back on the midfield? It's very early. I think that he's looked a bit hesitant chasing kicks so far. And also he's actually spent more time attacking from 13 than 11 in this contest. So maybe, it will be a slow adjustment. But at the end of the day, it is what people have wanted to see. And I do think that that is something that they'll look at in the long term for Ioane to be back out there. Cody Taylor sells the dummy. The big man decides he'll have to do a show and go. Oh, knocked on by Ioane. Tried to pick and go quickly from the breakdown and didn't quite get it right. It's probably terrible timing in terms of when someone just asked about how Ioane's going. I think that's his first handling error of the day, or it might be second actually, but Cody Taylor Nicely done, sneaking through. All Blacks bit rusty, says Paul Floors. We see it there, Ioane. He tried to go quickly round the side. That is where the All Blacks have tried to use it quite a bit, the pick and go. And Solly knock on. And Cody's still the best number 2 in the world, and never underestimate the French, says Moa Hunters. Handling error 6 points to 3, 6-3. In terms of the numbers, All Blacks doubling the handling errors of this inexperienced French team. 4 minutes left. Are they pinching that rush, says Mr. Orlin. And also ABs have to learn to not get so many penalties, says John. Any halftime show from you, says Sebastian. I mean, we will be looking through at the stats and whatnot for the halftime break, as well as looking through at who is still to come onto the field for these two teams. Yeah, I don't have a TV, says Fat7. The Māori All Blacks look better today, says Boots, although they had their fair share of handling errors as well, didn't they? And then they still, unfortunately, did lose in the end. But now, kick downfield, Serron down to the halfway line, finds Ioane at the back, who is now going to run forward, run straight, though, into one of the French players. I believe this time it was Tesseron. Now to Groot. Roygaard, 35 metres out. The New Zealanders trying to find a try before the end of the half. Damien McKenzie goes almost through again. Galetton has made about 2 or 3 last-ditch tackles on McKenzie that have stopped him from going through. Bowden Barrett tries the kick, and France take it straight back over the ball, though, for the All Blacks, and that will be the penalty for Tupovai. He was on his feet. Now will New Zealand turn down another 3? Are you going to do the Lions game? I certainly am. Waratahs versus Lions kicking off in only around 2 hours' time. And it will be happening on the channel as well. Right, All Blacks. Bowden Barrett looking around for Scott. I don't think he could find him. And they've kicked for the corner again. Ioane is playing like a sook. Somebody remind him to play his best, regardless of position, says Martineau. And Lions Game Live, we are going to be doing it. Yep. And it is kicking off in around that 2 hours 15. I think the All Blacks will win. My prediction, I think, might have been a little bit too generous for the All Blacks. But, of course, the second half can happen. And I think that they will get a royal firing up at half time. Just ahead by the 1 at the moment. But another line out here. Cody Taylor gets it in. Attempted to get stolen by the French. Cam Roygaard over the ball, though. Gilliard, his hands were down and unable to quite get it. Fletcher now moves forward again. Hardy Savia will be lurking a little bit further out. Wouldn't be surprised if they try to go to him for some leg strength here in the near future. Roygaard goes across this time now to Hardy Savia. Stays on his feet, bumps through one. Now wrestled down 7 metres from the line. Roygaard goes off to Billy Proctor. They have to release him. They don't want to. Galetton still hanging on to him. Back across Scott Barrett. Oh, he's crunched in the tackle by France. Cross to Tupovai. He already has 1 try in this matchup. Roygaard up to Cody Taylor. Now Will Jordan on his side trying to out-push him forward. Now, Fabian Holland. Still 5 or so metres out, 9 phases in a row here for New Zealand. Billy Proctor, beautiful hands. Will Jordan, 1 more pass. Geordie Barrett does very well to be able to regather it as it was round his toes. He picks it up, regathers, and goes over the line. And Geordie Barrett, he had a disallowed one earlier on in the contest. That one will not be taken away from him. And I aim to see you in the South African game, says Carlin. So yeah, of course, massive game coming up for the South Africans up against the Italians. Their first official game of 2025 will be one of the multiple streams that we have got today, but hopefully have been having a good day. There was a bit of a high shot on on Bowden Barrett. But yeah, has to dive there for that one, Geordie Barrett. Oh, he almost lost it, but he does regather before reaching the ground. Geordie gets his try, says Rodney. And also we have got there, what a try, great hands, says Sakabula. And there was any standout player so far in the first half, says Renee. I would say, I know that because he's just scored, it seems a bit, cheap to say it. But honestly, Geordie Barrett has slotted back into that number 12 jersey so well since being overseas for all of the season. And in fact, he's probably looked as one of the better players. Christian Leo Willie, I think he's looked really strong in that number 8 jersey. But that is going to be halftime as well, ladies and gentlemen. That kick going over making the score now 21 points to 13 in favour of New Zealand. So to go into halftime with an 8-point lead, I think New Zealand would take that. The French side was certainly a bit more competitive than some were anticipating. But it's what happens in the second half that is really going to determine it. I also think Cam Roygaard's looked handy enough from that number 9 jersey with his pick and goes. Will Jordan, he's looked strong again. We have there, Baby Box had a thrilling game. A bit mainly on the replaying England in the final. Says Christopher DeVette. The thing is, though, England didn't get any bonus points from their game. So if they win both of their other contests outside of facing South Africa and get 10 points, if anyone else in another group does the same, except they got a bonus point for losing, that would actually mean that England miss out because it's only the top 4 going through. The Super Rugby competition this week has not happened in New Zealand Rugby. Says Paul Thompson, and Geordie Barrett as well practiced and bending over and touching his feet. There's Jason Hamilton. He's probably quite flexible, you're saying, I assume. And Tupavai, Cody Taylor, Bodie, Jordan, or Geordie, all studs right now. There's Xavier, and potentially 14 points light fellas. There's Fat 7. And also we have there Rico Ioane. He looks scared, unsure. He looks a bit hesitant, out on that wing. And maybe that is because of the fact that this is his first game back on the wing since 2021 up against the Welsh. So the debutants have played well, nothing special. Best on the field so far, Artie and Roygaard. Says Rodney. And also Super Rugby comp is not weak. Great comp, says Heaney. And All Blacks by 10, says Cool Story. And France win by 3. This All Blacks team is sweating. They underestimated France, says CF. Although, to be fair, the lineup that they selected, I would say, doesn't show an underestimation. Like, people wanted to see, like, quite a few other younger players get the chance here. But this seems like they've done well. D-Mac looks confused, says Kiwi Rob. Although D-Mac's probably beaten close to the most defenders throughout that first half. His run that set up the Tupavai try was a phenomenal one, managing to break through multiple tackles in a row. But you've also got to remember, Damian McKenzie, originally, they probably planned to have him as the number 10 in this matchup. So going into the first match of the game, or first match of the year, first minute of the game, you make your way on, and now you're playing 15, which some would still say for the season is slightly out of position. I'd say he's done pretty well. AB's the boss the second half. They're winning where it counts in their heads, says Jimbo. It's hard to get up for a match against the third string, says Powerbite. But the thing is, the world rankings are on the line. And if New Zealand win all of these games comfortably, they might book themselves a better draw in the Rugby World Cup. And that's happening at the end of the year. So, even if it is difficult, you have to get up. And I would say at the moment, this French side have shown that they are more than capable of putting together a great performance. No way, Hamish D-Mac isn't our 10, says Kiwi Rob. We all know how much you hate Damian McKenzie, Kiwi Rob. So, we just get used to you always complaining about him. And Kiwi Rob has graced us with his wisdom and unbiased analysis, says Jason. And sad for Severy Reese. It is a shame because, we can only say what we saw from Severy Reese. And that was, he looked like he was going to try and put in a big hit. But unfortunately, the big hit came at his expense. Tried to tackle Serrans and just caught him right on the hip and just kind of crunched his neck. We have got there, what a half from Holland, putting in his first big half. Says Gus, there, people forget AB's just starting their season. France is ending their season, says Stephen's uncle. Although, I guess New Zealand, in some regards, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because Super Rugby, straight to international level, sometimes it works well. I do think that we've seen a few guys who have just switched just like that. Someone like a Will Jordan, Tupavai continuing his great form. Will they stick with Vai or bring Blackadder back? Depends, because Blackadder wasn't available when they were bringing in an injury replacement for Wallace Satiti due to his injury himself. Blackadder had a bit of one that he was nursing. Billy struggling. I would agree. I think that Billy Proctor's looked a bit shaky. But at the same time, you look at the amount of minutes that he got to play last year. It's the equivalent almost as a new player coming in as a number 13 for Billy Proctor. So I think you got to give him a couple games to really find his rhythm. France rotating their squad. The thing with it is the top 14 finished only last week or the week prior. And with that, there were about 20 plus players who would normally be in the French team who were playing there due to their commitment to their club teams and also the way that the top 14 is. It meant that they just weren't going to be available in time for the July internationals. We have got there no Barrett, no McKenzie. Then who's next? Says remixes for DJs. And also second half, New Zealand are going to run away with a score. I'm predicting a 50-pointer from the ABs today. Richie McCaw was born just down the road from Waimea, claiming it, says the Y. And also French just getting started. Roosters fly, says it was there from Ruth. 6 line breaks for the New Zealanders. 1 for the French. Kicking meters almost double for France throughout that first half. Kicks and play 19 compared to the 12 of the New Zealanders. Lineouts 1. We've seen 11 lineouts 1 from New Zealand. 2-1 from France. No lineout steals as of yet. AJ Lamb for midfield says Lock K. And also over there, Springboks will beat this All Blacks boys, says George. And there too. And also, anyone else notice that the ABs are all wearing fluoro boots? Yeah, obviously got a new boot sponsor, I would say. Oh, I think it's Adidas, actually. So they've always had Adidas stuff. But, yeah, new boots for a new season. And the greats are still sour for people saying Super Rugby is weak, says I see you. And Al Proctor got starter when we took off most of Super Rugby season. Doesn't speak from Razor, says Mr. Orlin. Although when he returned from his injury for Super Rugby, he actually had the best defenders beaten per 80 minutes out of any player across Super Rugby Pacific. He also scored multiple tries, had multiple try assists. So, you know, he missed the first half, but he came back and then from there became the biggest defender beaten per minutes in the whole competition. And that's in front of someone like a Timothy Tavatanawai. So that just tells you how many he was able to beat. The real test will be against the Box. This is just to clean out the rust, says John Jones. And if Sivu's out, at least Narawa gets a go, says Kings. And also we have got there, who does Karifi come on for? I actually don't really know, to be honest. Like, I would say that Leo Willie has played very well in that number 8 jersey. He's been physical. He's been doing everything he needs to. He was actually half by responsible for one of the first tries that the All Blacks got. In fact, it might have been actually the very first one for a shovel on to Beauden Barrett. But, you know, I think if Leo Willie's off, they'll reshuffle. Savia will go to 8, and then Karifi will go to 7. But at the same time, this is a long season. So the last thing that they want is an injury to Adi Savia when they've already lost a couple of their loose forwards. So we might actually see Karifi get the chance to just straight swap with Adi Savia. We haven't got there. Can't wait to see Karifi, says Enrico there, and really happy for Japan, says DIA. And also, will you be doing NPC games in a few weeks' time as well? I've considered it. It will depend a little bit on scheduling in terms of what other games are taking place throughout the weekend, but I would like to do a few NPC games along the line too. Italy will beat South Africa, says Charlie. And also, is Caleb Clark injured? He is not, no, but he is missing from this contest. They have gone with Rico Ioane out on that left wing side. And up the wire, says Gavin. And how long does the halftime take? Normally about 10 to 15 minutes for a halftime break of the rugby. So I don't think we'll be a mile away from the second half starting up. So anyone, of course, who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're going to be back for the Waratahs taking on the British and Irish Lions in the game just around the corner. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens and whether or not France slow down for the second period of time. All Blacks rugby is stuck in the same spot, still debating if Beauden is a 10. How long is that going on for, says Floyd? I think most people have decided he is now, though. Like, it's kind of been relatively said across the board. So I think it depends on who you talk to, though. But it's not so much, for some people, it's not if Beauden Barrett is a 10 rather than a 15. It's more, is Beauden Barrett the 10 rather than someone else taking the spot in general. But I do think that from this game, you know, he's controlled it. He's had a couple rough kicks in there, but he's actually done all right off the kicking tee in the early stages of the game too. These are the French replacements, ladies and gents. Still some pretty handy players to make their way off the bench. Tolfa Fanua, Cameron Walkie. That's where I think France will actually get that little bit stronger when people feel that maybe they'll start to tire for the New Zealanders. We saw the early change, Damien McKenzie. He ended up coming onto the field after 1 minute due to the injury of Sevu Reece. Still plenty of changes to be made, as well as Duplessis Karifi, a debutant, and also Ollie Norris, who will also get his debut some stage in this contest. But the next 2 games for these 2 sides, ladies and gentlemen, the next one is taking place in Wellington. That is going to be 7:05 on Saturday for the second test match, and then the third is happening at FMG Stadium. That is going to be in 14 days' time. We have got there who is backup 12. Quinton Pye will be the backup 12 for that one. And we have got there Caleb. Needs to have a good look at himself, says the Shaver Beaver, and you do an Argentine game. I haven't decided just yet. I think what I'm going to end up doing is seeing how we're going throughout the day, or throughout the night, I should say. And if I've still got a voice and still got a bit of energy, I will end up covering that one. I'll just end up scheduling it a little bit later on. How much will we be covering Box versus Italy? We certainly will be. We've also got an hour build-up for that matchup. And also we have got there, we know the ABs are good enough to do, but do you think they will complete Grand Slam in November? Says Geetzer. So they have got Ireland, they've got England, Scotland, and Wales. So I'm thinking at least a 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4 is potential as well. And if they want to get that 4 out of 4, they're definitely going to have to play well, because some tough sides to beat when they are at home. Definitely that matchup against the English. We have got there, you cover Waimedi Rugby, put that gem on the map. It would be interesting to do. Although I'm not sure what the go is with like broadcasters, because I know that they haven't got like a big official broadcaster, but every once in a while, one of their games do get uploaded on YouTube by like South Canterbury Rugby. So I probably have to confirm whether or not it's actually allowed to do any sort of filming for them and whatnot. Bok B team can beat All Blacks, says Farid. And we have got there, you're kidding, Rodney Ioane as a winger, says John. And there as well. And we have got there, what do you think of Italy beating Ireland this morning, says Kiwi Rob. It's certainly thrown a curveball in terms of the overall competition. But yeah, makes it a little bit easier, you could say, for New Zealand now to be able to go through as first seed. But of course, they would still have to get the win over the Irish too. Rico has been bad, no urgency, just jogging. Yeah, that one that Bowden grubbered or kind of chipped across field, and then Rico just kind of casually strolling after it was not the best look, unfortunately. And we have there, do it, says Pete. And as well as Japan playing this weekend, they did play up against the Welsh. Actually took place about an hour or two ago. I reckon Eden Park record against the Box will probably end by the looks of our performance, says Kings. And also Italy can beat New Zealand in football, says Cool Story. And do you think Ioane as being, I'm not sure what that word means, but like he hasn't been his best yet, but it's always going to take time. Unfortunately, you're in that scenario where if you're going to switch a guy who's played in a certain position for 4 years back to somewhere that he hasn't played for the 4 years, there's always going to be that little bit of a tough patch, which is why it's actually kind of good that New Zealand are getting to take on France in this 3-match series, because if they play Ioane out on that wing for 1 or 2 of them, then you're in that scenario that he can just slowly get back acquainted with that wing, because it will take time. We've seen him running as a 13 in this contest. How's Roygaard going? He's going all right. And then number 9 jersey, a little bit unlucky with that disallowed try for the All Blacks, as he would have had a great try assist like he's had throughout the Hurricane season. Rassie can do another dance under the sun, even the rain dance. Says S-Bok. And we have got there, man at scrum, don't feel dangerous. Don't know if it's 8 or 6. Says Mr. All-In, a long time since I was home. Just out of curiosity, what is Athletic Park in Wellington used for these days? Oh, I have absolutely no idea, John, if I'm honest with you. I know that the game's taking place at Wellington Regional Park, but I don't think that is the same one, is it? Is it a Kiwi channel? I mean, we are from New Zealand, but we cover all the rugby around the world. Like later on tonight, we're covering the British and Irish Lions match between the Waratahs and the Lions. Then we are going to be covering South Africa versus Italy. We covered the whole of the Rugby World Cup, every single match. So, you know, there's not a lot of bias involved. ABs don't look too bad, but their handling errors and discipline have been shocking. Yeah, I do think it has been I'd say the handling is probably the one that's hurt the most. Like, the discipline hasn't been great either at times. But for me, like, the handling, you know, being able to hang on to a couple more of those could be massive. Would you like to see changes to this AB side? Well, that's the thing. We're at our first game of the year. We've got Jade, who has become a channel member. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated for your generosity. You will now have access to the exclusive emojis on the channel. But, like, it's too early to just straight away go, this didn't work, so we have to switch it now. Because or else all that will happen is everyone's lineups will look exactly like Scott Robertson's did last year. And then if they look like that, then people will get annoyed that it looks the same as 2024. So, you know, there are changes that have been made, and it will take time. You know, it won't be an overnight fix for some of these guys with their positional switches, unless you're Tupavai, because he's played very well in that number 6 jersey so far. We have got they're on the field, says Xavier. Yep, they are very close to the second half getting underway. Hey, Hamish, I hope your team win this game in the series, mate, says Garold. I said it from the beginning, the starting line trash, and it's up to the bench to win it. France's B team is giving All Blacks a run for their money, says Lewis. Oh, okay. So the All Blacks, same 15 that they had at the end of the first half. I'm not too sure whether or not France have got any changes as of yet either, but we are back underway, ladies and gentlemen, for the second half. France now going from left to right, knocked on by Ioane to start the second half. And that is not a clean take, and the last thing that he'd want for the start of the second 40. As I say, the handling here is a shocking. Rico drops the restart. My point stands. And also All Blacks to up the mighty attack try second half, says Beekeeper. Although big attacking chance here for France at the start of the second 40 minutes. Go the All Blacks, says Queen Bees. Get him off, says John. And there as well. But yeah, not the best start for Rico Ioane of the half, but he has to try and take that one out of his mind now. Has to defend well. Dupont is not in this French team. And also we have there catch and pass, can you dig? Says Shane. We're now putting this ball in. Legaric. 22 metres out from this All Blacks line. Big push. Scrums have been even at this point with the exception of that one big push from the All Blacks where Ethan de Groot did win them the penalty now. Back across to the left-hand side. Geordie Barrett with a big shot. Penalty advantage now, is it? No. I think ref did say the ball went backwards. Now rush defence from Will Jordan. Christian Leo Willie, another tackle made by him. He's had a great game so far, but one thing that will make it even better is if he can get a steal or maybe get himself the try. Legaric goes off to Gilliard again. Legaric quickly moved across to the right-hand side. Fiku. Now Fisher driven back by Artie Xavier. After 8 phases in a row here for Les Bleus at the start of the second half, Gil Fiku. Now off to the left, Legaric. Going now to Berea. Good phase play at the moment. Also good defence from New Zealand, not budging as of yet. Cam Roygaard thought about going for the turnover, but couldn't find the ball. Now Villiers can't get the offload away. Tackled by Leo Willie. In fact, that time it was Proctor. They've got very similar tape on their head for this game. Now Legaric. Across again to Barlow. Still 12 metres out from the line. Ball's gone backwards again. Pick and go from Fiku. Legaric. Open space here. Villiers will run it through. And France strike first in the second half. The All Blacks, it was only a matter of time. They were trying their best to defend it. But Legaric kept finding men who were in space. Gabin Villiers does finish it off. And scores the try, and game on, says all in the game. And also shot Rico, says Rural. Yeah, unfortunately it did all come from that first initial handling error. French try for Ioane error, says Rodney. And nice try that, says Shave Beaver. Yeah, just didn't really, they didn't rush there, France. They were willing to just take phase after phase, wait for that gap to open up, and it did. And we have got there, can you do a Wairarapa Bush game? Says Ben. I'm not even sure if they're showing their game. Or are they? No, they're not the ones going for the Ramphilly Shield, are they? I was going to say there's one team going for a Ramphilly Shield where outside of the NPC. That one's gone over from Legaric, and that will now make the score 20 points to 21. And not ideal from Rico. Says Mr. Tube Dude. Is it me or is Reek the worst passing centre in the game? Says Powerbite. And Villiers returning the favour to D-Mac. Yeah, the big celebration for France in the early stages of the second half up the All Blacks, says Jason. Hey, it's great for us overseas rugger buggers, says Andrew, and get Ioane off, says Kiwi Strong. And now, ball available. Arador takes nice. Under the high ball, now back into the pocket where Serrans was waiting. Taking at the back, McKenzie now trying to create another attacking chance like he did in the first half, runs it straight. France have defended extremely well. De Groot now pops it back to Beauden Barrett. Artie Xavier offload there to Fabian Holland, who has to try and hurdle over one of the French defenders who were on the ground. Now pick and go from Xavier. That's where the All Blacks have been making a majority of their meters in the breakdown. Ball's loose. It's a penalty, though, going the way of New Zealand and off their feet, France. And well done, France, says George. And now another pick and go. Roygaard goes, sells the dummy, finds the gap. Cam Roygaard, couple meters short of the line. But France with Villiers. Oh, I think he's got that one cleanly. Yes, he does. What a phenomenal bit of play from Gavin Villiers. Couple meters out from the line, or from the line, sorry, and the missed clean out from New Zealand. The crowd are not happy about it. It will be a 10-metre line out here for New Zealand. But that is phenomenal work. Great sell of the dummy from Cam Roygaard. Just couldn't quite link up with anyone around him. Barrett went for the clean out, but Villiers was already set and ready to get that steal. And what a turnover says all in the game. Yeah, a try-saving one there from Gavin Villiers after just having a try-scoring effort down the other end. But now, Ardie Savea in the halfback spot. They are talking about the perhaps rolling maul that could occur here. No, in fact, they're going to use Savea. Goes off to Barrett to use him as a battering ram. Villiers, oh, he almost got it again. Roygaard with the inside ball to Tupavai. Yeah, Villiers, one of the smallest players on the field, but he's packing the biggest punch at the moment, although he's just been swatted off by Scott Barrett. Now Roygaard goes across to Geordie Barrett on the short side. Not a lot of space to work with there for New Zealand, so they will shift it back left. Fletcher, no, 5 metres out from the line. Cody Taylor off to Billy Proctor. Now again, Roygaard firing it out wide. Beauden Barrett, short ball to Will Jordan, who finishes it off and scores a second of the contest. Seems to be when you need someone to step up, Will Jordan will be that man. We're having a Severies chased after a kick early on, ended up trying to tackle, got his head on the wrong side, hit the guy's hip and knocked himself out in 57 seconds of the contest. And also nice comeback try, says Sighted, and it was needed just to have that little bit of security for the ABs. But Will Jordan breaking through tackles for fun. There was actually one of the errors from Galetron that we haven't seen a huge amount throughout this game. His defence has been extremely solid. And Will Jordan, absolute freak, says Poots. And rusty performance, France feeding off All Blacks' mistakes. And Rio get off the field, says Jason there. And your scoreboard says remixes. So my prediction originally was 20 points in favour of New Zealand. But we've reiterated many times that that can either be considered as too high or too low in this match because it was an unknown French lineup. And I have to say these young guys have really stepped up. You know, they've shown what they can do. New Zealand, at times they've shown rust, but they've also had some very nice plays that have been shut down by France in terms of that breaking run from Cam Roygaard that was then turned over by Gavin Villiers. I want to see Tapia in for Proctor. Although Tapia hasn't played a huge amount of 13. So that's where it gets a bit intriguing, whether or not they would go with Barrett and Tapia as a midfield duo. Oh, changes being made. So that's going to be Romain Taufifenua making his way on for France. He's one of the big men that can bring a big impact. Looks like this French team is keeping with the ABs, but for how long? Says, was there from Sighted. Oh, okay, bit of a mistake there from Nick Berry. He was just about to let them kick off and then went, no, don't kick that one. And here's Cameron Waukee. And also All Blacks on fire, says George. And great comeback, the AB says amazing. Richie doesn't know where Waimedi is. He does, though, because he's visited before. And also we're there, lovely to see. Oh, no, France had 16 players on the field, so that's where the confusion lay. They were trying to work out who was actually supposed to make their way off. The crowd are booing him. It's not his fault. He wasn't the one doing the maths. But it's going to be Techeron who makes his way off. Right, they've got the right number now. It's 15 on 15. Fire as the game changes, says ball floors. And All Blacks to win, says Ghazali. Kicked off long. They're targeting Ioane. That was exactly where that one was supposed to go. But Holland jumps up in front of him and says, don't worry, I got you here. Roygaard, back across to the right-hand side, finds Ardie Savea inside of the 22. Currently the 8 points separating these two sides. Plenty of time still remaining on the clock. Roygaard. A little bit of an ugly kick there from Roygaard. Hooks it back infield. And now going to be available for France to look to run for Gilliard. Now Legeric Going across to the left-hand side. Cameron Walkie, is it? Yes, it is. First touch of the match for him. And now Tolfifano, the other big man, gets a touch of his own. Fabian Holland manages to tackle him now off to the right-hand side. Chance for Tom Spring. Tackle by Ethan de Gruden Proctor. It's whether or not... Oh, what a gap that is for the French. Right up the middle. Last-ditch effort from Cam Roigard. Phenomenal work from the 9, but for how long can the All Blacks hang on? He is stuck in there. He tries to roll away and does just that, but that was the last-ditch effort and a half. But now, can Fantonda help his side get another try? Because that was who managed the initial line break. He'll be gutted that he didn't score it. Now advantage going against New Zealand, not rolling away against, I think that's Tupove. No, it's not. Someone else underneath the breakdown. It might be Taylor. Nowhere to go, but that is the try now for France between the posts. And they hit back straight away. And close game over, says Aloy, and will play him very well. And also, so many whistles, says Bad 7, but great attacking gap opened up for France to be able to run through. Fantonda. It's Artie Savia and Scott Barrett, the gap that he ran through, and it was a massive hole. And somehow Roigard able to stop it. Fantonda was getting ready to dive. He thought he was through. But only 1 metre out from the line. I think it's Cameron Walkie who scored it, the big man off the bench. I want to keep saying France will fall off. The bench is as good as the starting, and they play in the top 14, the most intense league in the world, says Dylan, but that kick has gone over. Back to a 1-point contest between these two sides. Better turn it up, boys, says Shane. Tit for tat, come on the All Blacks. Are you allowed to play tennis in Waimea? You are allowed. It's not illegal, which is good. A 1 point will be disappointing, says Mr. Orlin. And like Moses parting the Red Sea, was it? And you can see the frustration on the face of Scott Robertson. You can see the motivation in the eyes of these young French players and the belief from the crowd. Christian Leo Willie, he makes his way on. International test debut. That man's been waiting a long time for this opportunity. Question is, who is it for? I don't see any of the regular loose forwards just for now. Right, Tupavai's still on, so he hasn't come on as a 6, though that was going to be expected. It's just whether or not Savi is off or whether it's Christian Leo Willie who has had to make way. Looks like Leo Willie had to go off, so they have kept Savia on. I assume now Savia transitions to number 8. Little cross kick there from Bowden Barrett. Proctor gets it. Now pops it up to Savia, across to Vay, shovels him behind to Bowden Barrett. Pops it to his brother Geordie. In fact, that was Scott. On the halfway line now. Kicking it back into the sky. Bowden Barrett waiting for this one. Will Jordan not able to get it. He had a lot of contact from Gavin Villiers there in the air. Okay, it's going to be back off white first. Did look like there might have been a knock-on from Will Jordan. Villiers saying, hey, okay, they're going to check this one anyway. I think it might have been a knock-on from Jordan, although I do think there was a lot of Villiers getting involved. Yeah, so it is going to be a French scrum feed there. And Korefi, says Ashley. And also we have the All Blacks playing like they in Super Rugby. Says remixes for DJ. Has Ioane gone back into the centres and Proctor gone out onto the wing? I don't believe so. I think that Ioane is still out on the left. What is Roigard like kicking it to the French? Deep in our half, brainless tactics, says Thorfinn. So Tupavai getting a bit of medical attention on this forearm. Tell you what, he would be the last player New Zealand want to lose. Yeah, imagine opening your curtains there and Scott Robertson eye looking straight at you, says Jason. And the French team is pretty impressive. They are. And I mentioned it during the build-up about the fact that these guys, a lot of them, because of who have been playing for France, a lot of these guys have been 3rd and 4th choices for multiple years, but just have never got the chance. Now they're finally getting it. And, depth in France looks pretty good. Ioane might be out of the All Blacks after his performance, says Dalmain. And also getting smoked by France B, says Floyd Kingy and Richie Mwonga. I should come back as Waimeti captain, and Duplessis Karefi. They are just showing All Black number 1,226. Like I said, he's been in the environment before. He was in it for November last year as a bit of injury cover. He also had some earlier times where he was right on the verge of getting a match. Never quite did. It's more like a Barbarians game than a Barbarians game was. The French game plan is obviously working, says Z. As the road will hit the roof inside roof before I'm not sure if it has at Forsyth Barr. I know they've been very close to hitting it, but I'm not sure if it's ever actually struck it. But now Ligeric go back across to the right-hand side, kicking downfield for Galeton. Got it off the side of his boot, but McKenzie claims it. Yeah, the sideline, Will Jordan. Roygaard. Back across to Fabian Holland. He is someone who has stepped up in this contest here. The youngster on debut. Now Bowden Barrett, pressure on him, kicking it high again. France will be saying thank you very much. Well taken by Tom Spring. And now the ball available on the halfway line for the French. As Ruben Love playing, he is not in this contest. Now Ligeric. Back into the pocket again. Finds Segon. Big high one. Oh, someone taking off the ball there. Nicely taken by Bowden Barrett. Without a lot of pressure on him. 27 minutes remaining. Cam Roygaard trying to find his way through. He's tackled by Wookie, who tried to hold him up, but eventually finds the ground. Will Jordan plays half. Artie Savia back across to Geordie Barrett. Look for the pass to Holland. Goes in behind him, but Savia cleans it up. Tries to step. Moves up to halfway. Very, very close to the breakdown on that far side. Ethan de Groot. Tackled again. 40 metres out from their own line, the All Blacks. And that's for your commentary, Hamish. Is this what? It's like 2 years out. Oh, nicely taken by Will Jordan. Pops it off to Roygaard. One more. Finds Cody Taylor. Offload to Barrett, who smashed by Wookie. But New Zealand, that was a bad offload. There was no knock on. It came off the shoulder of Tupavai. Now Duplessis Karifi. Isolated there. France in the breakdown. It's a Sogby gets the turnover. And France in the breakdown have been lethal throughout this matchup. Kick down the middle of the field. Taken by Will Jordan all the time in the world, or at least he thought, up until Tom Spring lined him up. Still 1 point in it between these two sides. Tupavai. The All Blacks attacks at time have looked stagnant. They haven't been able to find a way through this French wall in the middle channels, but every once in a while that gap opens up, and that's where they have to make the most of it. Two-man tackle on Duplessis Karifi, gets the offload to Will Jordan. Now Tupavai on the outside, tackled by Villiers. Now pick and go. Jordan goes short side again. Cody Taylor tackled by Villiers. That man's been so busy throughout this match. Blackadder and Kane playing, neither of the two. Now Billy Proctor, middle of the field. Back across. Oh, Bowden Barrett almost ran the wrong way for that one. Galfiku trying to hold him up. That seems to be the tactic from France. They're trying to create rolling mauls where they can tie up the possession. Now McKenzie goes off to the right-hand side, finds Will Jordan. One of the offload. That's a deliberate knockdown from Gabin Villiers. Might be a yellow card here for the French winger. There was not a lot of intent to catch that ball. We'll have to wait and see what comes of that one, but for now there is a penalty advantage. Nick Berry says for now he's just on a penalty. Roygaard back across to Bowden Barrett, finds Will Jordan, and now they'll go back for it. I think they'll be checking this one as we speak. No yellow, says Mr. Allin, and pick and go was working, says John. Yeah, 11 will go to the bin now for 10 minutes. No position to be able to catch it. Now, I don't think that was completely on purpose from Villiers, but it's a little bit unfortunate that for a guy who's had such a phenomenal game, he will now be off the field for the next 10 minutes. Next team to score will probably win, says it was Waitamati. And also we have got their France have the best depth in the world, says John. And top three New Zealand loose forwards not playing, says Sean. Well, who are your top three loose forwards in that case? But yeah, not a very huge attempt at catching that one. What yellow card is that? So that is number one yellow card in this contest. Or first yellow card, sorry, I should say. Who isn't playing for New Zealand today. Couple more changes happening. No Timothy Tavatavanawai. He was one that I saw quite a few people wanted to see. Ollie Norris and Basili Otosi will both make their way onto the field now. Debut for Ollie Norris too. Basili Otosi, he got his debut last year in the black jersey. Cody Taylor, 22 metres out from the line, going to be throwing this one. And I think they'll keep Taylor on for quite some time here. I'm not sure whether or not Tolkiaho will get a huge amount of minutes. Duplessis Karifi again charges straight at the French defensive line. Up quickly. Les Bleus shut down that first and second carrier for New Zealand multiple times. Told to release it for Gelfiku. Now Roygaard back across Savia, finds Bowden Barrett. Karefi through a gap, thought about the offload option, but was shut down by Waki once more. Little kick attempted in behind from McKenzie. Luckily for him, bounces back up into his hands. Roygaard over the breakdown from Gilliard. Will Jordan again has to play halfback. Duplessis Karefi hit quite hard by Motagni. Now Norris, first touch for him. As an All Black, Will Jordan pick and go. He's not the biggest guy to be going for those, but it has worked out just for now in terms of creating another opportunity. Roygaard not able to find that next gap. Savia will now be playing halfback. Pops it up to Scott Barrett. Gets within 10 metres. Pick and go. Savia again. 5 metres out from the line. Billy Proctor, pick and go. Reaches out and scores the try. It's not normally the position you would see an All Black centre managing to score it, but Proctor kept the composure. That pick and go has been quite effective from New Zealand when used right, and Billy Proctor scores himself his first try of the season. Yeah, bro, says John, and that is a crucial one to get, as so many times when the All Blacks have led by 8, we have seen the French then score next, and I says football is the best sport. Welcome in, but well done from Proctor to be able to reach that one out. Had 2 men in front of him, Gilliard as well as the replacement tight head prop, but slams it down. They're checking it. He's still in control of that one, I would think. I don't think it completely separated. And great commentary, Hamish, listening in North Scotland. Says Gary, massive win, of course, for the Scottish earlier on today. Okay, they're actually going to check that one again to see if there's separation for Billy Proctor. My first initial reaction was not a huge amount, if there was. And staying awake here in Utah, USA, listening to your commentary. Nah, Mihi. Come on the AB, says Paris. Right, they will check this one again to see whether or not there was a knock-on from Billy Proctor. It was a good effort from Gilliard to try and get a slap. He does hit the wrist. Oh. They're going to call that as no try. They're going to say he loses it out of his palm. His wrist maybe was on it the whole way. But that is going to be a knock-on. Savia's not happy. Second no try coming. Billy Proctor saying it's BS. And it's going to become a goal line dropout. The crowd are not happy about it either. Now, Samapiti Finau, he will make his way on, bro. Says football, and how much longer to play? Still another 22 minutes remaining in this contest. But for Proctor, he needed that try. He was one of those guys that maybe hasn't quite stood up in the way that people wanted to see. Samapiti Finau and Samasoni Tolkiaho both making their way onto the field. Thank you very much, Jaden, for your generosity. Around the halfway line now, Damien McKenzie gets it off to Savia, who looks like maybe that decision might have fired him up that little bit more. Now Geordie Barrett back across to Billy Proctor, driven backwards in a thumping shot from Les Bleus. Now Vai cross to Ollie Norris, another carry from him. Roygaard, Bowden Barrett finds Fabian Holland, wanted the offload. The French have done very well around the breakdown. There's an interesting switch. Scott Barrett off, and that is for Samapiti Finau, which does mean I assume Vai has gone into the locks, and Samapiti Finau will go into number 6. Blackadder and Kane are not playing. Well, Sam Kane's retired from international rugby, so that's why he's not playing, and Blackadder's injured. So that's why both of them aren't there. We have there, Geordie Barrett will be the captain. Says Red 7. I think both other Barretts will have the co-captaincy alongside Artie Savi. A little bit too much on that kick. Goes into the in-goal area. Has to force it down for it to Sogby. Downwards pressure ref. VS says Fat 7. Just forcing that one down in the in-goal area for Ata Sogby. Now goal line dropout. Not bad for an AB's team. Or a B team. Can't wait to see the excuses from the breakdown, says Cameron K. Yeah, I think that this is one of those games. Of course, it's not over yet, and there's still a lot of chance for France to be able to win it. But I think that this is the perfect example of underestimating depth. Yes, they haven't got their big name players, France. Look at the score. 28 points to 27. A game that people were predicting 50 points for New Zealand at least has now turned into a brilliant test match, a competitive test match too, between these two sides. And what looks like it's going to be a competitive series now. How do I take off Roygaard? Says hopes of a nation. Yeah, Ratama makes his way on. Another change made by the All Blacks. A potential 21 points gone begging, says Bat 7. Yeah, but, clinicalness, unfortunately, from the All Blacks at times has been off, and their handling has cost them points too. First time listener from Tapuki. Great commentary, says Nuffy. Thank you very much for tuning in. Anyone who's new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're going to be back for the British and Irish Lions match, or trying to go for the pass on the inside from Summer Penny Finau. It was knocked on by France, but it looks like it's going to be play on and kicked into touch. So they will go back for the line out now. Okay, Galfiku was just asking whether or not maybe that can go back for the scrum. Referee says no advantage there. And put McKenzie into 10, says John. And come on, Usos, we got this, says Nards Williams. And also we have got their... I see why the French are not bothered to bring their A team. And New Zealand fans really feel, or must feel relieved, it's not a full-strength France team. Says Albert there too. Now Bowden Barrett trying to find his way through. Back across to the left-hand side, Summer Penny Finau. Another tackle on him. Ratama. Quite a few Chiefs now out there on the field after the bench has been changed. Of course, Norris, Tolkiaho, Finau. I believe at least 6 of the 8 are from the Chiefs. Wide cutout pass finds Will Jordan. If anyone's going to be able to make a change, it's that man. Bull sits up. Barrett can't quite get it into Sogby. Does very well from the 15 jersey, 2 metres out from the line. Will Jordan saying they've sealed it off. I can't get to it. Ref says it's play on. Now Taufafanuo. Big interception attempt from Will Jordan in the breakdown again. Doesn't quite pay off. Now Jeannot has made his way onto the field and gets a nice clearing kick downfield, although maybe not quite as many metres as he would have liked, sitting about 15 metres out from the line. Now the All Blacks have got themselves the opportunity for a rolling maul. And Jordan is scary, says Jimbo. And also time left, still another 18 minutes remaining in this contest. Nicely taken by Summer Penny Finau. Cortez Ratama goes back across to Duplessis Karefi. Links up with Barrett. Now Ratama finds Savia. 10 metres straight out in front of the post for the ABs. Just a 1-point lead at the moment. 2 disallowed tries. But the next one has to be 100% a score. Billy Proctor. One more out wide. Will Jordan hat trick. Although they'll check the grounding more than likely. But Will Jordan, he's been a bit of a saving grace in this game for the Kiwis. Anytime that man touches the ball, there seems to be impact. And he's got 3 tries now from this matchup. And try for Will Jordan, says Mr. Dow. And easy when you come, says Jimbo. And also, come on. This has to be, says Warber, going on the outside. Billy Proctor finds Barrett. And then one more to Will Jordan. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck? Says Dalmain. And also Pasilio Tossi, says Floyd. Yeah, nicely done. And we should mention that is actually on the wing where Gavin Villiers is missing due to that yellow card. Wait, what? Double blow of the whistle. We've found something. TMO checking something else. What have we found? Must be something way back. Maybe a knock on or something. Fix your scoreboard. I don't think I can fix it yet because they're trying to disallow this one too. I'm looking forward to the next game, says Phil Carl. Right. Going back, is there obstruction from Basilio Tossi? He's in front of McKenzie. I don't think it affected a huge amount, but he is in front. Did it affect a tackle? The answer would be probably not, but I think they're going to say potential obstruction. I think this is going to be a no try as well. What's the ruling going to be? Are they saying it made enough of a difference? No obstruction try, good, says Jimbo. So they're saying whether or not Fantonda could have made a tackle on Barrett in time. I don't think he would have got there. 18 Black is in front of the ball carrier. It's obstruction and the third no try for New Zealand in this contest. They are still up by just the one. And it is going to keep on going like that throughout the rest. So Nick Berry has said there is obstruction there. He's in front of the ball carrier. He has an impact on the defender. Even though that defender wouldn't have got to Beauden Barrett, they say he stopped him a little bit enough to give Barrett the space to then go 3 more passes on the outside for Will Jordan to run it in. Try is no good. It's going back for obstruction, and France will have the penalty. 3 disallowed tries, says John Tupu. And no way, no try for the ABs as Bulls, says Brett. And OFFS says Brett. And when does the yellow card end? We got a big sign from a kid saying should have gone to Specsavers in the stands. The cameras found that one. About 17 minutes left. Nick Berry, big smile on his face, talking to the French fly half. But now, kicking this one into touch, France will have themselves the line out. Defender never getting anywhere near anyone. And also 28 potential points, ref says Fat 7. And also great from the ref says Leroy. And there too. Is there a record for disallowed tries? I don't know, but it's going to be up there. Oh no, we've had a game with like 5 though, haven't we? Now nicely taken by Cameron Walkie. Sitting 16 minutes remaining. Still the yellow card in play for the French for probably another maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Looking for this maul. Goes out to the halfback. Does kick it out on the full. Others why nobody likes rugby anymore. Too many TMO checks and soft decisions. Says Rural Sheep. And also scoreboard at the moment is sitting 28 points to 27. The amount of times it's tried to add that extra try and has to take it back. And we have got there, where is the TMO from? Where does he live? Brett Cronin, I believe, is oh no, Brett Cronin's on the foul play. He's from New Zealand, I believe. But I'm not sure where the TMO was from. I can't remember who it was. Arabia is pretty cool, says Greet. And also changes score, says Owen. It's currently 28 points to 27, but perhaps New Zealand have another opportunity here to attack Beauden Barrett. Off to the right-hand side, Rico Ioane doesn't pass, decides to hit it up himself. Now Ratima, short side, goes out to Will Jordan, who got denied the hat-trick, but he's decided he might have to go for one more try. Oh, he almost dropped that in the breakdown, which does mean if New Zealand do score, they will go back to check it. And now Ratima, again back across to the right-hand side. They've found the knock-on in the TMO, and they will go back for the scrum. Well, at least they found it early there rather than going right back after 5 or 10 more phases. What a lot of rubbish. The TV ref should not be calling unless the ref asks. It's skill in the game and slowing it down so much, says Wayne. We're going to see here, yeah, just on the ground, ripped out by Taufa Fanua. Does TMO stand for try manipulation obstacle? And it's a no try. Says Peter there. Right. We're going to pack the scrum. Tackle completion from New Zealand. 100 tackles made, 93 they have been able to make. Or 93% with 8 tackles missed. And also now for the ultimate scrum. Let's go, boys. And the AR is doing a good job, said Leroy. And you could just about disallow any try if you wanted to find a way, says Joe Webby. And can you believe that score? I can, in a way. Don't get me wrong. I think that this younger French side, maybe we're expected to have a few more tries conceded against them, but they still have a lot of talent across the board. When you can't give a try when player doesn't touch the ball down, says Jimbo. And also we have got there, no wonder people are heading to the rugby league, says John there. But now the game does continue. Still another 14 minutes left. Second half's felt a lot longer than the first, though, that is for sure. Ball fed in by Jeannot. Big scrum. I don't know who got the better of that one. It all ended up in a bunch. And now Galeton to kick this ball downfield. Hasn't quite struck it how he would have liked, but a lot of open space in the back. McKenzie has to clean it up, lined up, gets it off to Rico Ioane. Runs straight into the man who did tackle McKenzie and Galeton. Now Beauden Barrett thought about the short ball to Ollie Norris, but will hang on to it this time for Fee now. Now Tupaia, his first touch of the day, kicks it into touch. Trying to play a little bit of the territory game for Quinn Tupaia, saying he's trying to slow it down. Kiwi, it would be pretty funny if we lost, with all the chat about how disrespectful and weak the French selection was. Says Greek the Sacred Cow, and getting nervous now, says Dalmain, and I wish the TMO can hear me. I call him something, says Peter. And what does TMO stand for? TV match official. Or television match official, sorry. Now line out throw here for Bougaret. Let's play his rugby at La Rochelle in the top 14. Cameron Walkie taking it nicely. And now again, the rolling maul of France will start up. Nicely done. I think Fien now, did he go through the middle? Yes, he did. Now on the halfway line for France, Galficou, short ball. And he had the breakdown. Duplessis Karifi tried to get the steal. Does lose his footing. Come on, France. And Damon Murphy for Aussie for the TMO. Says one up by kicks. Only the real remember how boring rugby got when the All Blacks were dominating everyone. It's good to see some competition. There's Jay turnover in the breakdown now for New Zealand. Duplessis Karifi goes across to Barrett. Man, he covered a lot of ground there. The replacement number 22. Going right across the field for Jeannot to try and get that next shot in. Big one on Bowden Barrett. Geordie Barrett numbers on the right-hand side. Again, France just shutting it down so well and so efficiently. Basilio Tossi, 40 metres out now for New Zealand. Ratima goes back across to the left-hand side. Tupaia finds Savia, has a man with him. It's Rico Ioane, puts in the fence, gets through, and just once again doesn't quite link up with his teammate. Savia, 22 metres out from the line now. Ratima goes to Tupaia, who runs it flat and hard, makes a few metres. Ratima, Norris goes to Geordie Barrett. He has been working all throughout the 70 minutes, but in the breakdown, trying to get the steal for France. Has he got his hands on the ball? He's got the steal in the breakdown. And just like that, France again have managed to take that ball 10 metres out from their line, back across. Galficou kicks it downfield and does kick it into touch. Maybe he's good around the mauls, says George. And also another turnover, says Sakabola. I'd love to see what happens in this breakdown. So initially, I think Ollie Norris thought he had cut him off. Then we see Samapini, or in fact Samasoni Taukei'aho, also kind of pushing up against him, but no one really got rid of his hands. And now, Samasoni Taukei'aho, chance here. A knock on from last year. Says Horner, nicely taken by Fabian Holland, who almost got left by himself at their line out. 10 minutes now remaining on the clock, ladies and gentlemen. France 1 point behind with a lot of time to be able to get back into it. Another turnover, Folk in the road by Green Day. He's losing the ball at the breakdown. Sad, see Brett kick downfield. Ioane, he's chasing after. This one doesn't get there. Mark called by the French. Looks like maybe Tom Spring took a bit of a knock on his shin. Keep the faith, says Dave H. And also they turn their own man, says Jimbo. And Fabian sounds like he has stepped into his role well. He's looked solid in that number 5 jersey. I don't think he's done too much wrong throughout this contest. The kickers finding touch for France. Do they take it quickly? Spring has got a limp. They have still got Hastoy as another replacement. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how relentless is the All Blacks attack? In this game, it's probably been about a 4, I would say. And this is not good for my heart rate, says Novmum. And Roy Gardner's missing big time. Ratima shows 0 attacking threat. Says Hopes of a Nation. Now Samasoni Taukei'aho going short side. Ratima with the fin. Pops it on the outside to Bowden Barrett. And he chips it, and the mark is called from Atisogbe. Brilliant work from him. But great pierce and run down the short side from Ratima with with the fend. And then the offload to Barrett. But then Barrett got chippy. And it didn't work out for the Kiwis again. They're just tuning in after getting off an aircraft. What the hell is the score against France number 2 team? Bloody hell. Says Wayno. And also, how many minutes till the finish? They have still got another 9 minutes left in this contest. There's potential of slightly going down to the wire. But yeah, great fem from Ratima on his opposite in this match. Was the score similar last year? It was a 1 point difference between the two sides. France won 30 points to 29. Head knock here for... Wait. When did Tom Spring take a head knock? I thought he just had a limp, didn't he? Okay, interesting. Well, I assume he will pass it because I think it was his shin that was sore, not his head. Maybe they just want a bit of time to give him a bit of attention. Right, the doctor said it's an HIA, they've said. So they bring on an extra forward here for France. Bring on an extra forward, do they? At this point of the match. Interesting. So, of course, with an HIA you can. With an injury you cannot. Interesting. 8.5 minutes left now in the contest. Talkiaho throwing it into the front, finds Fabian Holland. Ball rolling around at the back, but it has gone backwards, says Nick Berry. 22 metres out. Still 8 minutes left on the clock. He's going into the centres. Says all in the game, and that is going to be the advantage now going the way of New Zealand. Ratima kicks it in behind, finds the hands of Guilleton. And they're going to go back. And that is going to be for not rolling away. Do you take the 3 if you're New Zealand? They've turned down many throughout this time. In fact, they've turned down probably 3 or 4, and none of them have really led to a massive amount of points. I think there's a big decision that needs to be made. Savia points to the post, and they've said, look, we need to get ahead by more than 3, or else the French could steal this. So, of course, a try converted would have won this game from here potentially, but the 3 points, crucial to get. That was France team, they were kicked for 3, and it is New Zealand team, and they are kicking for 3-2. And take it, says Nards Williams, now you guys losing. And come say it's BC, says Keane there. And also the next game should have been refereed by this slot, says Aria. And right choice at this point, says Kiwi. And there as well. But 4 from 4 for Beauden Barrett. His kicking has come a long way in terms of this contest compared to Super Rugby. I know a lot of people were a bit concerned about, wait a minute, am I going to jinx him? Have I just given him the commentator's curse? He's about to line this one up from 22 metres out. Does get it over though. I was speaking a little bit too soon, but 5 from 5 now for Beauden Barrett off the tee. And like I said, that is a massive step up. But now 31 points to 27 in favour of New Zealand. Take the kick and run down the clock, says Andrew and Savia for captain. Do you have us in the coach's box smell the coffee yet? And rugby has become a soccer game. League is way better, says Tinkham. Celebrations in the stands, but they will know this game is far from over. 6 minutes remaining on the clock. And kicked off now by France. Down towards the 22, well taken by Fabian Holland. And try taking that penalty too, please, video ref. As Wallace a big lost this big. I don't think it's just Wallace Atiti. I do think that New Zealand, you know, they have been far from their best in this game, but then that's because of how France have played too. I feel like France do deserve a huge amount of credit for how awkward and how, you know, hesitant they have made some of these All Blacks players. Ball secured now by New Zealand, though, 40 metres out from their line. Basilio Tossi fires it back to Beauden Barrett on the bounce pass. Does kick it down the middle of the field. France now with an opportunity with Hastoy at the back. Kicks it down. Looking for a 50-22 awkward bouncing ball. McKenzie trying to stop it just narrowly. Manages to do so. Kicks it out. And it will be a line out now for the French. 30 metres out from New Zealand's line. We have got there. Let's go. We scored. Says Tunes there. And also we have got there. This is usual. Rusty ABs and the French are playing free. Says Ross. And also funny how every man and his dog doubted this French team. Exactly right. They have shown exactly why, like, this young team, without the caps, without the experience, without the names, is still just as dangerous. And also thanks to the DMO, says Aloy. I mean, yes, there's been some decisions, but New Zealand still, I feel, haven't been anywhere near as clinical as they need to be. But now, nicely taken. Rolling maul here for France. A try here would give them the lead with only 4.5 minutes remaining in this contest. Ball available for the away side again. Going off to the right-hand side. Finds Galfiku. He's been everywhere in this game as well. Stepping up on defence. Kind of conducting the back line. Now off to the right. Goes to Roman Talfifanua. 22 metres out. New Zealand told to roll away, and they do just that. Now, Males. Again to the right. Villiers. Big Fenn coming in on Duplessis Karefi, but he's going to drive him back 1 or 2 extra metres. Waki on the right-hand side, still 22 out. Karefi wanted the steal, couldn't get it yet. The second most turnovers won throughout Super Rugby Pacific. This would be a crucial moment to be able to get one. And now at the Sogby, goes off to Roman Taufifenua. Off to the left again. Numbers starting to open up on the left-hand side for France if they can shift it out there quickly. New Zealand. Looks like they've numbered up now. Passing out wide. Chance for Gelfiku, who is tackled by Will Jordan. Back across. They need a big turnover here, New Zealand. For the French, they just need that one solid pass that could put them through a gap. It's knocked on by Taufifenua. And it will now be the scrum for New Zealand with 3 minutes left on the clock. We have got their Marshall Wilson going to be eating their own words now. They're both in the commentary box, and they are praising this French side, to be fair to them. There hasn't been much mention of what was said earlier on in the week. No need to force that, says all in the game piece. We're complaining about Foster, including me. This is bad though, says Nars Williams. France will win, says Chris Brown. And a knock on out, says on the right. Yeah, coming at just the wrong time for the French. And honestly, one of their first knock-ons that they've had in quite some time. And this match, who's the man of the match, is the question they are asking. Gilliard has stepped up for France. We have seen Will Jordan for New Zealand doing brilliantly. Saw some great work from Leo Willie. Ata Sogby at the back's been solid. Hollands looked good for his first game. Barrett's been everywhere, that being Geordie. And also here there, Timo rolling, shocking. Says Valentine. Lots of errors from New Zealand, says Colin. Well done, France, says John. And there as well. Now 2 minutes remaining. New Zealand. At this point, it's not so much about, trying to win by that 13 plus like a lot of people predicted, but they're now in that scenario where it's just about winning. They have to keep this ball for 2 minutes. They've got the penalty advantage at scrum time, and they'll go back for the penalty now. Big push from Ollie Norris, Tolkiaho, and Pasilio Tossi. Loose head hinging. It is against Malez, so that is all Tossi. Just crazy. Other so-called experts could write off the French. And also French CTABs to put their heads out their backsides. Says Jason in there too. And hold it, boys, says Jim. But now Bowden Barrett to kick this one towards the sideline. In terms of the World Rugby rankings, ladies and gents, what this game would mean. We'll go here. We'll go here as well. One moment. We'll go like that. Go like that. So if New Zealand were to win this game by the margin that they do, 0.62, they would go up in the world rankings. If France were able to sneak it, they would go up 1.38. Tolkiaho, 50 seconds left. Thrown in, well taken by Tupo Vai. Rolling ball here for New Zealand, not even creeping 1 centimetre closer to the French line. Tolkiaho. Are we going to see New Zealand just look to go phase after phase? Where's their halfback? Fabian Holland has to run over. I don't know where Ratama ended up in that scenario. Perhaps underneath the breakdown. Yes, he was. He pops up now. Now 25 seconds left. New Zealand, they will be closing out the game, or at least trying to, in the same fashion as we have seen many teams do before. The picking goes, the passing to first receiver. 13 seconds remaining for New Zealand, told to use it now. Tolkiaho, forced backwards. France, told to release. Ball is still there. Ratama, going to be told to use it very soon. He will put it back into the pocket, kicking it into touch. New Zealand win this game, 31 points to 27, but they were in a fight with the French. The series has certainly just heated up. New Zealand winning it 1-0 at the moment, but this French side have shown more than enough capabilities of being competitive. The All Blacks, they have a lot to work on for their next couple of games. You could say a bit of rust for both of these teams, but tell you what, France for me here, they were impressive in this matchup. and much closer game than most people expected. We have there go the All Blacks. What a close game, mate. Not convincing at all. Cheer, Hamish, fantastic 100% commentary. One against you, says Naz Williams. Well done, All Blacks. Says Saban, I should say. And also we got there, sounded rather mediocre, but good to get a win, I suppose. Says Paul. And also we have good there. Thank you, Hamish. See you for the Lions and box game. And great commentating. Thanks, Hamish. Tight game. And also we get the great commentary. Thanks. And looked like a good game, says Patrick. Yeah, very competitive, very close throughout that first half too. Take an ugly win over a loss. Great commentary, bro. Says Ulu. And there too, but they are talking to Will Jordan. I assume he would have got man of the match, his moments when he was involved. Will Jordan's just said a typical test match up against the French where they stay in the fight. There were questions of whether France would slow down, but I would say it was almost the opposite. They seemed to get a little bit stronger as the tries were scored by New Zealand. Normally, France managed to fire straight back. Let's see what happens in the next game, says John. Yeah, there'll be a lot of learnings and only a week to be able to learn them. And we have got there good commentary, says LMC. And New Zealand Rugby is in trouble, says Albert. And there as well, I'm sure you've said that with a very happy face, Albert, as I know you haven't liked them for a while. The disallowed tries made the difference. France stood up good on them, says Poots. And Colombia were lucky, says Eric there. Massive call, thanks, says Michael. And of course, that is not the only game that we are going to be doing on the channel. Next game is the Waratahs taking on the British and Irish Lions. We will be starting that one in 40 minutes' time. Alongside that, we have got South Africa taking on Italy. And that is going to be the one just around the corner at about 3 a.m. New Zealand time. We've got an hour build-up for that contest. But next on the channel, there will be the review. I will be quickly filming it soon. And then we will get that up, hopefully, before that British and Irish Lions match. Bring on Tava Nawai, says Scrotimus. And also we have got there once again great rugby or great commentary, Hamish, says John Tipu, and Fan Eyes are open red tomorrow. And thanks for the great commentary. And also big party in Waimati tonight. Whole country is invited. Crickets, says the Y. And for me, the French beat us at our own game. Yeah, France looked very dangerous when it came to, those little breaks. But the pick and goes for New Zealand, I think, was where they probably won this game, I would say. Those little snipes around the side of the breakdown. But, yeah, just looking interesting for this season. Not just for the All Blacks, but also for this France team. Because I think that a few of these young guys probably booked themselves spots in the November internationals for the French. Someone like Etisogbe looked very safe at number 15 throughout this contest. Galetron, he did very well defensively throughout that first half. Villiers was outstanding. It was just a shame he got his yellow card. Gilliard at number 8, he was strong all throughout the game. We saw some big shots coming in from Tessaro as well. And Holland was massive. Yeah, Fabian Holland stepped up for this matchup, which was exactly what he needed to do. Okay, Scott Barrett just saying that when they turned the ball over, the French really ignited their game. Thanks, man. You get better every time I listen to you. You know your stuff, man. Says John, thank you very much. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. Like I said, be sure to check out that review of the game in about 30 minutes' time when it does come up on the channel. I do appreciate you all being here. And I will see you all for the next one.